Before a single word is spoken, long before any action is taken, a field is broadcast from you, an invisible, silent current of energy that tells the world and the universe the truth of your inner state. You see, the cosmos is not truly listening to your words. It is not measuring your deeds. It is responding, with perfect and unfailing accuracy, to the frequency of your being. It feels the vibration of your soul. This is the oldest law, the most subtle and powerful force at play in your existence. What if the most profound influence you will ever have has nothing to do with your arguments, your ambitions, or your desperate efforts to be heard? What if your greatest power lies not in what you achieve, but in the quality of who you are when you are doing nothing at all? What if the change you seek in your relationships, the peace you crave in your heart, and the reality you wish to inhabit originates not from a struggle without, but from a complete surrender within? What if your very presence, in its purest form, is the most potent force for change you possess? This journey we are embarking upon together is not a lesson in technique. It is not a strategy for manipulation or control. It is an immersion, a deep dive into the very heart of presence itself. We are here to explore a silent authority, a quiet power that has the capacity to reshape your world from the inside out, without the need for a single spoken word. This is an invitation to step through a different kind of door, a door that leads not outward into the endless noise of the world, but inward, into the vast, resonant silence of your own awareness. Here, in this sacred space, we will discover that to truly influence anything, you must first be willing to be nothing. To truly move the world, you must first learn, finally, to be still. The journey into the power of your silent presence begins now. Consider the space around your body, the air you breathe, the silence between sounds. We often think of this space as empty, as a void waiting to be filled with our words, our actions, our intentions. But it is never empty. It is charged, constantly, with the signature of your inner world. This is your silent broadcast. It is the most honest, unfiltered, and powerful communication you will ever engage in, and it is happening right now and in every moment of your life. This broadcast is not made of words. It is made of feeling, of being, of the subtle, energetic climate that resides within you. This is your inner atmosphere, and it is this atmosphere, not your efforts, that dictates the weather of your reality. You have walked into a room where an argument has just ended. No one is speaking, the scene is still, yet you feel it, don't you? A tension in the air so thick you could cut it with a knife. That is a broadcast. You have sat beside someone in complete silence, a person who is deeply at peace, and felt your own anxieties begin to settle, your own breathing begin to deepen. That is also a broadcast. We are all radio towers, transmitting the frequency of our soul. The world, in turn, does not and cannot lie about what it receives. It simply reflects your signal back to you. Your life, your relationships, your challenges are the great mirror showing you what you are broadcasting. This is why so much of our striving feels hollow, so much of our effort feels wasted. We spend our lives becoming master wordsmiths, carefully curating the sentences we speak. We say, "I trust you," while our inner atmosphere broadcasts suspicion. We say, "I am not angry," while our very cells vibrate with the frequency of rage. We say, "I am worthy of love," while our silent broadcast screams a story of inadequacy learned long ago. And then we wonder why the world seems not to hear us. We wonder why our affirmations feel like empty echoes in a barren canyon. The universe is not confused. It is not deaf to your words, but it is infinitely more attuned to your music. It is listening to the song beneath the words, the truth of your vibration. Think of your inner state as a powerful radio station. Your conscious mind, the part of you that thinks and plans, is merely the DJ announcing the songs. The DJ can say, "And now, a song of pure serenity." But if the broadcast equipment itself, the deep machinery of your subconscious beliefs and unprocessed emotions, is tuned to a station of chaos, it is chaos that will fill the airwaves. The world will hear chaos. The people around you will feel chaos. You can stand in the middle of a storm of your own making, shouting affirmations of sunshine, but you will still get wet. The work is not to shout louder. The work is to go into the broadcast station and change the frequency at its source. This inner atmosphere you carry with you is your true home. It is the climate you inhabit, regardless of your physical location. Is it a harsh, biting winter of judgment and resentment? A place where every interaction is coated in a thin layer of ice, where you must huddle for warmth against a constant internal wind of criticism? Or is it a humid, stagnant swamp of unspoken grief and victimhood, where the air is heavy and progress is slow, each step a struggle against the mud of the past? Perhaps it is an arid desert of loneliness, vast and empty, where you thirst for connection but see only the mirage of it shimmering in the distance. Or perhaps you have tasted another climate, a gentle autumn of acceptance where things are allowed to fall away gracefully, a clear, bright summer of joy and open-heartedness. Or the most powerful climate of all, a quiet spring of pure presence where nothing is demanded, yet everything is nourished, where new life emerges, not from effort, but from the fertile ground of simple, aware being. You are the generator of this climate. You are the sun and the rain of your own soul. Many people live their entire lives believing they are victims of the weather, never realizing they are the ones who command it. This realization is the first crucial step toward liberation. It is the moment you stop blaming the mirror for your reflection. It is the moment you understand that if you wish for the world to be more peaceful, you must cultivate peace within your own broadcast. If you wish for more love, you must become a beacon of love, broadcasting it freely, without condition, from the core of your being. This is not a judgment. It is not to say that your suffering is your fault. The language of fault and blame belongs to the ego, a topic we will soon explore. This is about power. It is an acknowledgement of the immense, forgotten power that resides within you. The power to transform your experience of life by transforming the energy you emit. So, how does one begin? You begin by listening to your own broadcast. Right now, in this moment, without changing a thing, can you feel it? Tune inward beneath the surface of your thoughts. What is the subtle emotional flavor of your being right now? Is there a low hum of anxiety, a dull ache of sadness, a simmering impatience? Or is there a quiet stillness, a sense of rightness? Do not judge it. Do not try to fix it. Your only task in this moment is to become aware of it, to acknowledge, this is the signal I am currently sending out. This is my atmosphere. This simple act of neutral observation is profoundly powerful. It is the first ray of light entering the closed-off room of the broadcast station. It is the beginning of consciousness. You must understand that people and situations respond to this silent transmission far more than they do to your physical appearance, your wealth, or your carefully constructed persona. Your presence speaks before you do. It communicates your level of self-acceptance, your fears, your openness, your wounds, and your wisdom. It is why some people can command a room without saying a word, and others can fill it with noise, yet remain utterly invisible. The one who commands the room is the one who is broadcasting a clear, coherent, and powerful signal from a place of inner alignment. Their inner atmosphere is one of authority, not because they demand it, but because they embody it. So, the invitation of this journey is to become a conscious broadcaster, to no longer allow your signal to be a chaotic, reactive byproduct of external events, to stop being a repeater station for the fear and anger of the collective, and to instead generate a frequency that is uniquely, authentically yours. A frequency born of presence, awareness, and inner peace. This is the source of influence that requires no words. It is the power that calms the agitated, reassures the fearful, and inspires the lost, simply by the quality of your being. It is the subtle energy that makes plants seem to grow better in your care, animals feel safe in your presence, and opportunities appear as if from nowhere. They are all responding to the silent broadcast of your soul. As we stand here, at the threshold of this understanding, a new question naturally arises. If I am the station, and my being is the broadcast, then who or what is choosing the signal? What is the unseen hand that so often selects the frequency of fear over the frequency of love, the static of anxiety over the clarity of peace? What part of us is so invested in the drama, so attached to the old stories of pain, that it keeps broadcasting the same sorrowful song day after day? To answer that, we must turn our attention inward once more and face the architect of the noise. We must meet the gravitational force at the center of our inner chaos. We must begin to understand the ego. We ended our last reflection with a question. If your being is a constant broadcast, what unseen hand tunes its frequency so often to fear, to lack, to discontent? What is this force within us that seems to thrive on noise, on drama, on the endless chatter of the mind? The name for this force is the ego, and to understand it is to begin to dismantle its unconscious control over your life. But first, a crucial distinction must be made, one that will be the foundation of all the freedom you hope to find. The ego is not you. It is a structure within your mind, a conditioned phantom self that you have been taught to believe is the totality of who you are. It is the ghost in the machine, the imposter on the throne. Let us use our metaphor. Imagine your mind is a kingdom, your true self, the silent, aware presence reading these words, is the rightful, peaceful sovereign. The ego, however, is a terrified king who has usurped the throne. This king lives in a state of perpetual fear because he knows, on some deep, intuitive level, that he is a fraud. His entire existence is dedicated to one single goal: self-preservation. And his primary strategy for survival is noise, a constant, deafening clamor of thought and emotion designed to distract you from the profound, silent truth of who you really are. If the kingdom is ever truly quiet, you might just notice the king is not real. And for the ego, that silence is death. This terrified king, this ego, builds his identity from external things. He is a collector of labels. He attaches himself to your job, your accomplishments, your possessions, your relationships, your knowledge, and even your past suffering. He says, "I am a doctor, I am a homeowner, I am a parent." He also says, "I am a victim of a difficult childhood, I am someone who has been wronged, I am anxious." All these labels, both positive and negative, are the bricks with which he builds the fortress of his identity. He believes that if he collects enough of these bricks, his fortress will be real, his rule will be legitimate. He does not understand that you are not the fortress. You are the space in which the fortress has been built. The second tool of the ego is relentless comparison. The ego cannot exist in a vacuum. It defines itself only in relation to others. It is a mechanism of division. It looks at the world and immediately begins its noisy calculation. Better than, worse than, smarter than, less attractive than, more successful, less enlightened. This ceaseless judgment is the source of pride, which is a feeling of fragile superiority, and envy, which is a feeling of bitter lack. It creates a world of ladders and hierarchies, and your position on them is never secure. This is why a life lived through the ego is so exhausting. It is a full-time job of measuring, defending, and striving, not for joy, but for a slightly better position in a completely imaginary hierarchy. This calculation, this constant mental tally, is the static that corrupts your silent broadcast, turning a potential signal of peace into one of competition and insecurity. But the ego's most powerful and pervasive strategy is its absolute refusal to live in the present moment. The now is the ego's greatest enemy. In the simple, unadorned reality of this very moment, the ego's stories begin to dissolve. In the now, there are no problems. There are only situations to be dealt with or accepted. In the now, your past has no power over you, and your future is a mere concept. The ego cannot feed on this. It is a creature of time. It lives exclusively in the past, which it uses for grievance and regret, or in the future, which it uses for anxiety and desire. It drags you back to replay old wounds, whispering, "Remember what they did to you?" Or it propels you forward into fantasies and fears, asking, "What if you fail? What if you don't get what you want?" This constant shuttling between a dead past and an imaginary future is the primary source of the noise in your mind. It is the ego's way of ensuring you are never home, never present, never able to access the silent power that resides only and always in the now. So what do we do with this terrified king? Our conditioning tells us we must fight him. We must launch a revolution, storm the castle, and execute the usurper. But this is the ego's greatest trap. The ego loves a good fight, even a fight against itself. To declare war on your ego is to give it exactly what it wants. More attention, more importance, more energy. The part of you that is fighting the ego is the ego. A spiritual ego is the most subtle and stubborn of them all, building a new identity out of its supposed holiness, its meditation practice, its non-egoic state. It is a king who has simply changed his clothes. The path to freedom is not through war, but through wisdom. And wisdom begins with awareness. You do not fight the king, you simply see him. You observe his strategies from a place of quiet detachment. When a thought of judgment arises, you don't condemn it. You simply note, that is the ego, comparing. When a wave of anxiety about the future washes over you, you don't get swept away by it. You observe, there is the ego, leaving the present moment. When you feel the urge to defend your point of view, to prove you are right, you feel it, and you see, this is the ego, protecting its fortress of identity. In this seeing, a space is created, a space between the ego's thought or emotion, and you, the one who is aware of it. In the beginning, this space is tiny, just a flicker, but it is everything. In that space lies your freedom. In that space, you realize you are not the terrified king. You are the silent, spacious awareness that is watching him. You are the sky, and the ego is just a passing cloud. The sky does not fight the clouds. It simply allows them to be, knowing that its own vast blue nature is untouched and unchanged by their passing. This is how you change your broadcast. You do not try to force a frequency of peace. The effort to be peaceful is a noisy one. Instead, you simply become aware of the noise. You become aware of the ego's endless commentary. And in that awareness, the noise begins to lose its power. The king's shouts begin to sound like whispers. His commands are revealed to be hollow suggestions. You no longer believe that his voice is your voice. You stop taking his drama so seriously. You disidentify. You withdraw your belief from him. And a king, without the belief of his subjects, has no power. His fortress of bricks begins to crumble. The gravity of the ego is the force that pulls all energy inward into a black hole of me and my story. It is the source of the density, the heaviness, the struggle that you feel. It is the constant noise generator. But there is another force, another gravity. It is the gravity of presence. It does not pull inward, it radiates outward. It is not dense. It is light. It is not noisy. It is utterly silent. To escape the pull of the ego, you must find the center of this other gravity. You must find the still point in the turning world. The ego cannot survive there. In the pure, unadorned stillness of the present moment, the terrified king has no voice, no throne, no kingdom. There is only being. And so, our next step is clear. We must learn how to find this still point, this silent portal to our true nature. We must venture into the space where the ego dissolves and our authentic presence begins to shine. We have spoken of the ego, the terrified king on the throne of your mind, who rules through a relentless campaign of noise. We have seen how its fears, its comparisons, and its refusal to inhabit the present moment generate the chaotic static that corrupts your life's broadcast. And we have hinted at its only true antidote, a place it cannot touch, a dimension within you that is eternally silent, eternally still. Now, we will do more than hint. We will journey there together. We will seek out this still point, for it is not something you must create. It is something you must simply discover. It is already here. It has always been here, waiting beneath the turmoil of the surface mind. Imagine your mind is a vast ocean. For most of your life, you have lived on the surface. You have identified with the waves, the thoughts, the emotions, the passing moods. When the seas are calm, you feel happy. When a storm of anger or fear rolls in, you are tossed about, helpless, believing you are the storm. You have spent countless hours trying to control the waves, trying to flatten the ocean with the force of your will, an exhausting and impossible task. The invitation now is to do something entirely different. The invitation is to let the surface be as it is, and instead, to dive, to take a deep breath and allow yourself to sink beneath the turbulence into the great, silent depths of your own being. The deeper you go in any ocean, the calmer it becomes. The winds and storms of the surface cannot reach the abyss. Down there, it is dark, silent, and the pressure is immense. But this is not an empty, dead darkness. It is a darkness pregnant with life, a silence that is deeply alive, a pressure that is not oppressive, but is the very source of the ocean's power. This is the still point. It is the unmoving foundation of your consciousness, untouched by the drama of your personal history, your anxieties, your ambitions. Finding this still point is the beginning of all true freedom, and there are simple, ancient portals that lead directly there. The first and most immediate portal is your breath. Your breath is the perfect anchor, because it is always with you, and it is always happening in the now. It is the rhythm that connects your inner world to the outer. For a moment, let us enter this portal together. You don't need to be in a special posture. You can be sitting, standing, or lying down. Simply bring your attention to the fact that you are breathing. Do not try to control it. Do not force a deep breath or a slow breath. Just let the body breathe itself and become a curious observer. Feel the physical sensation of the air entering your nostrils. Perhaps it is cool. Follow its path down into your lungs. Feel the gentle expansion of your chest or your belly. And then feel the release, the surrender, as the breath flows out again. Stay with this cycle for a few moments, in and out. Inevitably, your mind will wander. A thought will arise. Am I doing this right? What am I supposed to be feeling? I have to remember to buy milk later. This is not a failure. This is the moment of opportunity. The moment you notice that your attention has drifted from the breath to a thought, you have just woken up. In that moment of noticing, you are present, you are aware. Do not judge yourself. Do not be frustrated. Simply, gently, and with infinite kindness, guide your attention back to the sensation of the breath. Each time you do this, you are strengthening a muscle. It is the muscle of presence. You are training yourself to let go of the thought stream and return to the anchor of the body. You are, in effect, practicing the dive beneath the waves. The thought is the wave, the breath is the deep water. Return to the deep water, again and again. There is another, perhaps even more direct, portal to the still point. It is the awareness of your own inner body. Your mind can travel to the past or future, but your body is always, unequivocally, in the present moment. Right now, can you feel the life inside your hands? Close your eyes for a moment if it helps. Bring your full attention to your hands. You don't need to think about them. The task is to feel them from the inside. Is there a subtle tingling, a sensation of warmth or cold, a feeling of vibration, of aliveness? It may be very subtle at first, but it is there. There is a field of living energy within your hands. Dwell there with your attention. When you are truly feeling this inner field, it is very difficult to also be thinking. You have diverted the energy that normally fuels the noisy mind and directed it into the body. Now, let this awareness expand. Can you feel the aliveness in your feet, in your legs, your arms, your abdomen and chest? Allow your attention to gently scan your entire body, not as an object from the outside, but as a vibrant field of energy from within. You are not thinking about your body, you are inhabiting it. You are becoming one with the life that animates it. This inner energy field is the doorway to stillness. It is your direct connection to being. The ego, the terrified king, cannot survive in this state of embodied presence. His narrative, his complaints, his fears, all depend on you being lost in your head. When you drop down into the body, you leave him behind on his lonely throne, shouting into an empty room. To touch this stillness is to come home. It is a peace that does not depend on your life circumstances being perfect. You can be in physical pain, you can be facing a difficult challenge, and yet you can still access this deep, underlying stillness. It is the peace that the Bible calls the peace of God, which passeth all understanding. It passes understanding because it does not come from the understanding mind. It arises from the dimension of being, which is deeper and vaster than thought. This practice is not meant to be confined to quiet moments of meditation. That is merely the training ground. The true goal is to bring this stillness with you into your daily life. When you are washing the dishes, can you feel the sensation of the warm water on your hands, rather than being lost in a mental movie about your day? When you are walking, can you feel the contact of your feet on the ground with each step? When you are listening to another person, can you give them the gift of your full presence, your stillness, rather than just waiting for your turn to speak while the ego formulates its reply? Every moment is a new opportunity to dive beneath the surface. Every breath, every sensation is a portal back to the still point. The more you acquaint yourself with this inner dimension, the more your center of gravity will shift. You will begin to live less from the volatile, noisy surface of the ego and more from the stable, silent depth of presence. You will still have thoughts. The ocean will still have waves. Storms will still arise, but they will no longer define you. You will know yourself not as the wave, but as the vast, deep ocean itself. And from this newfound ground of being, something remarkable begins to happen to your relationship with your mind. Once you are anchored in the stillness, you are no longer at the mercy of the waves. You can watch them rise and fall without being swept away. From the silent vantage point of the ocean floor, you can observe the entire drama of the surface with a calm, detached wisdom. You are no longer the prisoner of your thoughts. You are becoming their silent, compassionate witness. And this capacity to observe without attachment is the next great step on our journey to freedom. You have learned to dive beneath the surface of your mind, to find the quiet, stable ground of the still point within. From this newfound harbor of presence, a remarkable faculty awakens. It is the capacity not just to think, but to be aware that you are thinking. It is the beginning of the end of a lifetime of mistaken identity. For your entire life, You have been taught that you are the voice in your head. You have believed yourself to be the thinker. Today, we are going to unravel that illusion. We are going to discover the profound liberation that comes from realizing you are not the thinker. You are the silent awareness that hears the thinker. You are the unattached observer. Imagine you are sitting on the green, solid bank of a wide river. This river is the ceaseless stream of your mind. It has been flowing since you were a small child, and it will continue to flow until your last breath. Within this river, all manner of things float by. There are leaves, which are the fleeting, everyday thoughts. What to have for dinner, an errant memory, a line from a song. There are heavy logs, which are your deep-seated beliefs and recurring stories about yourself and the world. Sometimes the river is murky and turbulent, filled with the debris of anger or fear. Sometimes it is clear and slow-moving, sparkling with thoughts of joy and peace. For most of your life, you have not been on the riverbank. You have been in the river. You have been clinging to the logs for safety, being battered by the debris and carried helplessly along by the current, believing this struggle and turmoil to be the very nature of your existence. You believed you were the river. The practice of becoming the unattached observer is the act of swimming to the shore. It is the act of pulling yourself out of the current, shaking off the water, and taking a seat on the firm, peaceful ground of the riverbank. From here, you can watch the entire river flow by. You can see the leaves, the logs, the turbulence, the clarity. You see it all, but you are not swept away by it. You are separate from it. You are safe. You are free. The thoughts that populate this river are not as personal as you believe. They arise from a multitude of sources, from your past conditioning, from the collective consciousness of humanity, from the conversation you overheard this morning, from the food you ate. They are, for the most part, impersonal, mental events. The voice in your head that never seems to stop talking, the one that is commentating on this very moment, is a conditioned mechanism. It is the primary activity of the ego, the terrified king, chattering constantly to maintain his illusion of control. To believe that this voice is you is the fundamental error. It is like believing the weather report on the radio is the sky itself. The freedom comes not from stopping the river, which is impossible, but from ceasing to identify with it. And the practice is beautifully simple. It is the practice of witnessing. As you go about your day, begin to notice the voice in your head. Notice it as you would notice any other sound in your environment, like a bird singing or a car passing. When a thought arises, instead of getting lost in its content, simply acknowledge its presence from your seat on the riverbank. You can even mentally label it. A thought about a future task arises. Instead of diving into it, you simply note, planning. A thought of self-criticism appears. You note, judging. A memory floats by. Remembering. This simple act of labeling creates a space. It is a moment of disidentification. You are not judging the thought, analyzing it, or trying to push it away. You are simply recognizing it for what it is, a transient event in the field of your awareness. It is a cloud passing through the vast sky of your being. You are the sky, not the cloud. The sky does not cling to the white, fluffy clouds, nor does it recoil from the dark, stormy ones. It remains the changeless, spacious container for them all. By witnessing your thoughts in this way, you realize your own sky-like nature. Do not be discouraged if you find yourself back in the river 100 times a day. This is the nature of the practice. The moment you realize, I am lost in thought again, is a moment of pure grace. It is a victory. In that microsecond of realization, you are awake, you are present, you are back on the riverbank. With each return, the riverbank becomes more familiar, more solid. Your identity begins to shift, naturally and without force, from the contents of the mind to the awareness that contains it. This practice starves the ego of its fuel, your belief. A negative thought, for example, has no power on its own. It is a harmless flicker of energy. It only becomes powerful when you unconsciously grab onto it, believe it, and identify with it. When the thought, "I am not good enough," floats by, and you, from your seat on the riverbank, simply see it as a thought, a piece of old, conditioned debris, it loses all its venom. It floats on by. But if you jump into the river and cling to that log, believing, "Yes, that is me, I am not good enough," then you energize it. That belief creates a painful emotion, which in turn generates more thoughts of inadequacy. You are caught in a whirlpool, a feedback loop of suffering, all because you mistook a piece of floating debris for yourself. The space that opens up between you, the observer, and the thought, is where your power lies. Before this practice, a stimulus would arise, a thought would fire, and an unconscious reaction would follow. There was no gap. Now, you introduce a gap. A situation happens. A thought about the situation arises. And in that sacred pause created by your awareness, you have a choice. You can choose to believe the thought. You can choose to act on it. Or you can choose to let it go. You can let it float down the river while you remain established in the peace of the riverbank. This is the end of reactivity. It is the beginning of conscious response. It is true freedom. As you become more adept at witnessing the stream of thought, you will begin to notice something else. You will see how certain thoughts, when believed, create distinct ripples in the river that travel down into your body. A thought about a past injustice doesn't just stay in your head. It creates a hot, tight feeling in your chest. A thought of future dread creates a hollow, cold sensation in your stomach. The thought is the spark. But when that spark lands on the fuel of your belief, it ignites a fire. That fire has a new name: emotion. And so, our journey of observation must go deeper. It is one thing to watch a leaf float by on the river. It is quite another to remain on the bank when the river swells into a raging torrent of anger or a deep, cold current of grief. Can we apply this same principle of unattached observation to these powerful, energetic forces that surge through our very cells? Can we feel an emotion fully without becoming the emotion? Can we learn the alchemy of allowing this powerful energy to move through us without being consumed by it? This is our next exploration, to move from being the witness of thought to becoming the compassionate, spacious container for the raw power of emotion. We have learned to sit on the quiet bank of the mind, to watch the river of thought flow by without being swept away. This is a profound skill, the foundation of inner freedom. But what happens when the river floods its banks? What happens when a single thought, a memory, or a perceived slight ignites a fire that consumes your entire inner landscape? We call this fire emotion, and for most of us, emotion feels far more real, far more powerful and convincing than a simple thought. It is the force that can hijack our reason, dictate our actions, and define our experience of life. Today, we learn not to extinguish this fire, but to become its master. We learn the sacred alchemy of feeling without becoming. First, we must redefine what an emotion truly is. Our society has trained us to categorize, to judge. Joy is good, love is wonderful, but anger is bad. Sadness is weak, fear is unacceptable. We are taught to chase the good emotions and to suppress, ignore, or apologize for the bad ones. This is the primary source of all our emotional suffering. An emotion, in its pure form, is simply energy in motion. It is emotion. It is a wave of pure, living energy rising from the depths of your being. It is neither good nor bad. It simply is. The emotion itself is never the problem. The problem, always, is our resistance to feeling it. Let us return to our metaphor of the sky. If your thoughts are the clouds, then your emotions are the weather. You, the silent, aware presence, are the vast, open sky. Sometimes the weather is sunny and clear, a day of joy. Sometimes dark storm clouds gather, a surge of anger, or a deep front of grief moves in. For your entire life, you have believed that you are the weather. When the storm of anger comes, you say, "I am angry." You become the storm. You identify with its electrical charge, its thunder, its destructive winds. When the long grey rain of sadness falls, you say, "I am sad," and you become the rain, believing your entire world is now damp and cold. This alchemy we speak of is the shift in identity from the weather to the sky. The sky does not fight the storm. It does not judge the rain. It does not cling to the sunshine. It does one simple, miraculous thing. It allows the weather to pass through it. It is the silent, changeless container for all of it. The storm may rage with terrifying intensity, but it does not harm the sky. The sky is too vast, too spacious. And after the storm passes, as all storms do, the sky is still there, often washed clean, the air crisp and clear. To know yourself as the sky is to be free. Most of humanity deals with difficult emotional weather in one of two ways, both of which lead to suffering. The first is suppression. This is the attempt to deny the storm, to pretend the clouds are not gathering. When anger arises, you swallow it. When grief knocks at the door, you numb yourself with distraction, with work, with food, with endless entertainment. This is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. It takes a tremendous, constant expenditure of energy, and the suppressed energy does not vanish. It is stored in the body as tension, as chronic pain, as anxiety, as illness. And eventually, the pressure becomes too great, and the beach ball shoots out of the water with explosive, unpredictable force. A minor annoyance triggers a volcanic rage. A sad movie unleashes a torrent of grief that has been held back for years. Suppression does not work. It only delays and amplifies the inevitable. The second unhealthy path is unconscious expression. This is the act of completely identifying with the storm and letting it rampage. You become the anger, shouting, blaming, and creating wreckage in your relationships. You become the sadness, collapsing into a story of victimhood and despair. While this may provide a momentary sense of release, it is deeply destructive. It reinforces the neural pathways of that emotion, making it easier to fall into the same storm next time. It creates karma, generating consequences in the outer world that will only bring more reasons to be angry or sad. It gives all your power away to a transient weather pattern. There is a third way, a path of wisdom and courage. It is the path of conscious embodiment. It is the alchemy of feeling the energy fully without believing the story that the mind attaches to it. It is simple, it is direct, and it will transform your life. It involves 4 steps. The first step is permission. The moment you feel the familiar stirring of a difficult emotion, the heat of anger, the ache of sadness, your first action is to mentally whisper to yourself, "It's okay. I give myself permission to feel this." This simple phrase is revolutionary. It immediately ceases the inner war. You are dropping your resistance, your primary source of suffering. You are saying yes to what is. The second step is to drop out of your head and into your body. The mind will want to spin a story. It will say, "He shouldn't have done that. It's not fair. This always happens to me." Let that story go, just for a moment. It is the log in the river. You don't need to grab it. Instead, ask the question, where is this energy living in my body right now? Bring your awareness inward. Is the anger a fire in your chest and a tightness in your jaw? Is the sadness a heavy, hollow feeling in your stomach? Is the fear a cold constriction in your throat? Be a neutral scientist of your inner sensations. Get as specific as you can, without judging. The third step is to breathe. Once you have located the sensation in your body, direct your breath towards it. Imagine your breath is a warm, spacious, loving light. As you breathe in, imagine you are surrounding the area of tightness or pain with this light, creating space around it. As you breathe out, just let it be. You are not trying to breathe it away or push it out. You are simply bringing your loving, accepting presence to the place that hurts. You are being the sky for your own inner weather. You are holding the energy in a compassionate embrace. The fourth and final step is to watch and allow. As you stay with the physical sensation, as you breathe into it, it will begin to change. This is the alchemy. The energy, once met with acceptance, begins to move. The tightness might intensify, then soften. The hollowness might morph into a gentle vibration. It might move from your stomach to your chest. Just stay with it, like a patient mother sitting with a crying child. You are not trying to fix it. You are providing a safe space for the energy to run its course, and it will. Because the nature of all emotion, all weather, is to be transient. By allowing it to be felt fully, you allow it to complete its life cycle and dissolve back into the stillness from which it came. This is the art of feeling it, to heal it. Every time you do this, you are metabolizing old, stuck energy. You are cleansing your inner atmosphere. You are reclaiming the vast stores of life force that were being used to hold that beach ball underwater. And you are discovering that you are bigger than any emotion. You are the container, not the contained. With this practice, you realize the emotional armor you have been wearing your whole life is no longer needed. This armor is constructed from a lifetime of unfelt grief, swallowed rage, and resisted fear. We built it to protect our tender hearts from being hurt again, but we did not realize that this armor is also what prevents us from feeling true joy, from receiving love, from living with a sense of open-hearted wonder. It is heavy, it is constricting. As you learn that you are the vast, invulnerable sky, capable of holding any storm, you begin to see that the armor is not protection, it is a prison. And so, the question arises, what would it take to let it go? What courage is required to dissolve the armor and meet the world with a vulnerable, open heart? This is our next great unfolding. We have journeyed together into the inner world, learning to hold the wild weather of our emotions in the vast, compassionate sky of our awareness. We have discovered that we are the container, not the storm. This is a profound realization, and it begs a vital question. If we are the sky, inherently spacious and safe, then why do we still live inside a fortress? Why do we walk through the world encased in a heavy, suffocating suit of armor? This armor, forged in the fires of past pain and cooled by the tears we never shed, has been our constant companion. We built it piece by piece, believing it was the only way to survive. Today, we will turn and face this armor. We will honor its purpose, count its terrible cost, and find the immense courage required to finally, gently, let it go. First, let us not make an enemy of our armor. Let us approach it with reverence, for it is a masterpiece of survival. It was created by a younger, more fragile version of you, with all the wisdom and resources they had at the time. The heavy helmet you wear, the one that overthinks every situation and endlessly analyzes every risk, was forged the first time your trust was broken. The rigid breastplate over your heart, cold and impenetrable, was hammered into place to protect you from the agony of loss or rejection. The gauntlets on your hands, preventing you from reaching out with vulnerability or truly receiving from another, were fitted after your open hand was slapped away. The gorget around your throat, choking back your truth, was locked tight when you learned that speaking your reality was unsafe. Every plate, every rivet, every sharp edge tells a story of a wound. This armor is a monument to your own resilience. It is the reason you are still here. So the first step is to bow to it in gratitude. Thank you for protecting me. Thank you for getting me through the battles. I honor the role you have played. But survival is not the same as living. A person can survive for decades in a prison cell, but we would not call that living. And this armor, which once saved you, has now become your prison. It is time to speak honestly about its hidden cost, the price you pay every single day for its illusion of safety. The first cost is a profound and aching isolation. The very walls you built to keep pain out have also, with perfect efficiency, kept love out. The armor prevents true intimacy. It stops you from being truly seen, and it stops you from truly seeing another. You can be in a room full of people, even those you care for, and feel an unbridgeable distance, a pane of thick, invisible glass between you and them. This is the loneliness of the armor. It is the loneliest place in the universe, to be locked away inside oneself. The second cost is its weight. It takes a staggering amount of your life force energy to manufacture, maintain, and carry this armor every single day. This is the source of so much of the chronic fatigue, the burnout, the feeling of walking through mud that so many people experience. Your spirit yearns to be light, to be spontaneous, to dance and to flow with life. But the armor is rigid and heavy. Every movement must be calculated. Every step is an effort. It suffocates your spontaneity. It crushes your joy beneath its sheer, grinding weight. You have become exhausted, not from the demands of life, but from the strain of carrying your own defenses against it. The third, and perhaps most tragic cost, is the numbness. In its quest to protect you from pain, the armor must dull all sensation. It cannot selectively filter. In order to not feel the sharp edges of grief or fear, you must also give up your ability to feel the sublime textures of joy, the warmth of connection, the breathtaking beauty of a simple moment. Life, when viewed through the narrow slit of the helmet's visor, becomes a muted, grey affair. The vibrant colors of the world are dulled. The music of life is muffled. You may be safe from the valleys, but you are also denied access to the peaks. You exist in a flat line of managed, mediocre experience, a twilight world devoid of both true sorrow and true ecstasy. You are safe, but you are not alive. It is this realization of this terrible cost that gives birth to courage. The courage to consider another way. This way is called vulnerability. In our armored culture, vulnerability has been branded as weakness. This is the ego's greatest lie. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is the highest form of courage. It is our most accurate measure of strength. To be vulnerable is not to be a victim, to have no boundaries, or to endlessly bleed your pain onto others. True vulnerability is the courageous choice to be authentic, to be open, to let yourself be seen as you truly are, without shield or pretense. It is the willingness to feel everything. It is the foundation of all meaningful human experience. Love, trust, intimacy, creativity, belonging, joy not. One of these can be experienced from inside the armor. They all require an open heart. Think of a seed. Encased in its hard, protective shell, it is safe. It can survive a harsh winter, but it cannot grow. It cannot fulfill its destiny to become a mighty tree. Its first act of growth is its greatest act of vulnerability. It must crack itself open. It must surrender its protective shell and push a tender, fragile green shoot out into the vast, unknown soil. This is not weakness. This is life force in action. True strength is not the rigid, brittle strength of a stone, which shatters under pressure. True strength is the flexible, resilient, alive strength of a tree that bends in the wind and continues to reach for the sun. To dissolve the armor is to choose the strength of the tree over the strength of the stone. So how do we begin this process? It can feel terrifying, like being asked to walk onto a battlefield naked. So we do not start by throwing the armor away. We start, as always, with gentle, compassionate awareness. I invite you now, if it feels safe, to close your eyes. Take a few slow, deep breaths, and I want you to bring the image of your own armor into your mind's eye. Don't force it. Just allow it to reveal itself to you. What is it made of? Is it plates of polished steel, reflecting the world so nothing can get in? Is it rusted, heavy iron, forged long ago? Is it made of woven thorns, designed to wound anyone who gets too close? Or is it a suit of invisible, shimmering glass that looks like openness, but is actually a hard, fragile barrier? Notice its different parts. Which areas are the thickest, the most heavily fortified? Is it the helmet of incessant thinking and worrying? Is it the heavy breastplate guarding your heart from connection? Is it the plates on your back, carrying the burdens of others? Is it the gorget around your throat, silencing your voice? Just notice, without judgment. Be a curious, compassionate observer of your own beautiful, tragic, and utterly necessary creation. Feel its weight. Feel the way it restricts your breath, the way it holds your shoulders in a state of tension. Feel the coldness of the metal against your skin. Stay with this for a moment. Now, I want you to place your awareness, your imaginary hand, upon the breastplate over your heart, and from the deepest part of your being, offer it gratitude. Say to it silently, "Thank you for your service. Thank you for keeping me safe when I felt I would be annihilated. I see how hard you have worked. I honor your strength." Feel a wave of appreciation for this loyal, if misguided, guardian. You are not fighting it. You are making peace with it. From this place of peace, we will attempt one small act of courage. Scan your armor and find one small joint, one tiny connection. Perhaps it is a buckle on the gauntlet or a single hinge at the elbow. Do not choose the main lock over the heart. Choose something small, something manageable. Now, in your imagination, I want you to ever so gently loosen it, just a fraction, just enough to create a tiny opening. And now, take one single conscious breath and imagine the air, the light, the life force entering through that tiny chink in the armor. Feel that fresh air touch the real skin beneath, the skin that has not felt the sun for years. That is all. You can fasten it again if you need to. The point is not to dismantle it all at once, but to discover that you have the power to create an opening, to know that a choice exists. This inner work translates into small, courageous acts in your outer life. The dissolution of the armor happens one gentle choice at a time. It may be the choice to share one authentic feeling with one trusted friend. Not a long, dramatic story, but a simple, "I'm feeling a little sad today," without needing them to fix it. That is loosening a rivet. It may be the choice to receive a compliment without deflecting it or dismissing it, to simply let it in with a quiet "thank you." That is opening the visor, a crack. It may be the choice to say, "I don't know," instead of pretending you have all the answers. It may be the choice to let someone help you without feeling you are a burden. Each tiny act of authenticity, of openness, of receiving, is an act of dissolving. As you practice this, you will discover the most wonderful secret. As the iron plates begin to fall away, you do not find a weak, fragile, wounded creature beneath. That is what the ego feared. What you actually find is a quiet, unshakable strength that needs no defense. You discover a core of peace, a radiant presence that is inherently invulnerable. You find that your worth was never in the armor's strength. It was always and only in the tender, authentic, living truth of who you are. And you realize in a way that settles into your very bones that you do not need to strive, to prove, to defend, or to protect your value. You discover that you are, and have always been, already worthy. Beneath the suit of armor we so painstakingly constructed, we find not a void, but a tender, living presence. We built those walls of iron and steel to protect something we deemed profoundly fragile, a flickering sense of self-worth that we believed was under constant threat from the world. We have lived our lives as anxious guardians of this tiny flame, believing that if we just built the fortress high enough, if we just won enough battles, if we just achieved enough, then finally our sense of value would be safe. But today we come to see the greatest illusion of all, the belief that our worth was ever in question, the belief that it was something that could be earned, or lost, or defended in the first place. From our first day in school, we were initiated into a game. It is the great human game of conditional worth. If you get good grades, you are a good child. If you are athletic, you are valuable. If you follow the rules, you are worthy of approval. This game continues into adulthood, its forms merely changing. If you get the promotion, you are successful. If you own the right home, you are respectable. If you have a partner, you are lovable. If you receive enough likes and comments, you are seen. We have all been unwitting players in this exhausting, unwinnable game. We have been running on a treadmill of striving, forever chasing the next accomplishment, the next milestone, the next piece of external validation that we believe will finally grant us the feeling of being enough. But it is a rigged game. The finish line is a mirage that constantly recedes into the distance. The moment you achieve one goal, the ego, which is the game master, immediately presents another, higher bar. The satisfaction is fleeting, lasting only a moment before the familiar, gnawing hunger for more returns. This is the core of the addiction to doing, achieving, and becoming. It is a desperate flight from the inner feeling of inadequacy that the game itself creates. This endless striving is the source of our collective anxiety, our deep weariness, our pervasive sense that no matter what we do, we never quite measure up. Today, we are going to stop playing. We are going to flip over the game board and walk away. We do this by embracing a truth so simple and so radical that the ego cannot comprehend it. It is this: your worth is not negotiable. It is inherent, unconditional, and absolute. It was bestowed upon you at the moment of your existence and can never be diminished or increased by anything you do or do not do. Consider the sun. Does the sun worry if it is worthy enough to shine today? Does it check with the planets for their approval before it radiates its light and warmth? Does it strive to be a better sun tomorrow than it was yesterday? It does not. It shines. It shines because that is its fundamental nature. Its being and its purpose are one and the same. Its existence is its own validation. Now consider a mountain. Does it feel inadequate next to a taller mountain? Does it feel proud when humans praise its majesty? It does not. It simply is. It is mountainous. Its silent, solid, unmoving presence is its entire statement of worth. You, in your essence, are no different. You do not have to earn your right to be here. Your existence itself is the proof of your worthiness. You are a unique expression of life, a manifestation of the universe, and that fact alone makes you infinitely valuable. To believe you must prove your worth is like the sun believing it must perform tricks to deserve its place in the sky. It is a fundamental misunderstanding of your own nature. You are not a human doing. You are a human being, and your being is, and has always been, enough. To let this truth land in your heart is to experience a great unraveling. The entire structure of the ego, which is built on the foundation of conditional worth, begins to tremble. The first pillar to fall is the compulsion to compare. If your worth is inherent, like the sun's, then the success of another person's sun does not cast a shadow on yours. Their light does not diminish your light. You can genuinely celebrate their triumphs without the subtle sting of envy, because their achievements have no bearing whatsoever on your own intrinsic value. You can also witness their failures with pure compassion, free from the ego's need to feel superior. The game of comparison is over. The next pillar to crumble is the desperate search for validation. When you know, in your bones, that you are already worthy, you stop performing for an audience. You no longer need the applause of others to feel good about yourself. You can make choices based on your own authentic truth, rather than on what you think will please or impress others. This will revolutionize your life. You might leave the job that looks good on paper but crushes your soul. You might end the relationship that requires you to be a smaller version of yourself. You stop asking the world, "Am I okay?" and you begin to stand on the solid ground of your own self-acceptance. This does not mean you become passive or lazy. In fact, it unlocks a new and far more powerful motivation for action. Before, your actions were driven by a sense of lack. You worked hard to get approval. You strived to get a feeling of worthiness. It was a hungry, anxious energy. Now, your actions can arise from a place of fullness. You work, create, and love, not to fill a void within yourself, but as an expression of the fullness that is already there. You shine not to earn the right to be a son, but because you are a son. Your work becomes play, your actions become art, your life becomes an overflow of the magnificent being that you are. Let us try a small exercise to feel this. I invite you to bring to mind something you have accomplished that you are proud of. A degree, a project, a kind act, raising a child. Feel the genuine sense of pride and accomplishment associated with it. Now, in your mind's eye, allow the accomplishment itself, the story of it, to dissolve. Let the degree fade away. Let the memory of the project dissolve. Try to be left with only the feeling, the inner quality that made it possible, the perseverance, the creativity, the love. Notice that this quality, this goodness, exists within you, independent of the external achievement. It was there before, and it is there now. Now, I invite you to bring to mind a time you believe you failed, something you feel shame or regret about. Allow yourself to feel the sting of that memory for just a moment. Now, just as before, let the story of the failure dissolve. Let the details fade away, and look beneath the story. Was the core of your being, the silent, aware presence within you, actually harmed? Or was it only the ego's story of self that was bruised? See if you can touch that indestructible part of you that was present even in the midst of that failure, untouched, unchanged, and just as worthy of love as in your moment of greatest triumph. This is your true self. Its worth is not subject to the highs and lows of your life story. When you cease spending your life's precious energy on the futile project of proving your worth, all of that energy becomes available for a new and far more joyful purpose. You can finally turn your attention inward, not to fix a flaw or excavate a trauma in order to become better, but simply for the love of the inner world itself. You can begin to consciously and lovingly tend to the state of your own being. Your inner world ceases to be a problem to be solved and becomes a garden to be cultivated. And the fragrance of this garden, the quality of its soil and the vibrancy of its flowers, is what determines the silent, powerful broadcast we have been speaking of all along. With the heavy, cumbersome armor of striving laid aside, and the profound truth of your own inherent worth beginning to settle in your bones, a vast landscape of energy and attention opens up within you. The frantic, lifelong question of, "How can I prove I am enough?" finally falls silent. In its place, a new, quieter, and far more creative question arises. With this one precious life, with this incredible energy that is mine, what shall I choose to cultivate? The answer to this question does not lie in a grand outer plan, but in the quiet, patient, and loving act of tending to your inner garden. For your inner world, the complex ecosystem of your thoughts, beliefs, and emotions, exactly like a garden. Your fundamental consciousness, the pure awareness that you are, is the rich, fertile soil. It is capable of growing anything, and into this soil, seeds are constantly being planted. Every news article you read, every conversation you have, every memory you revisit, every thought that drifts through your mind, each is a seed. Some are planted deliberately by you, but many, if not most, are carried in on the winds of the world, blown from the gardens of others, from the collective consciousness, from the culture that surrounds you. Left untended, this garden will inevitably be overrun. The weeds grow effortlessly, the seeds of fear, of resentment, of comparison, of self-criticism require no special nurturing. They are hardy and invasive. A single seed of grievance, if watered with your attention, can quickly sprout into a thick, thorny bush of bitterness that chokes the light from everything around it. A small seed of worry can multiply overnight into a tangled patch of anxiety that saps the nutrients from the soil, leaving you depleted and drained. For most of our lives, we have lived in untended gardens, wondering why we feel so heavy, so tangled, so lacking in beauty and peace. We have blamed the soil or the weather, never realizing that we have held the power of the gardener all along. To be a conscious gardener is to accept that while you cannot always control which seeds land in your soil, you have absolute authority over which ones you choose to water. Your attention is the water. Your focus is the sunlight. Whatever you give your attention to grows. This is the fundamental law of the inner garden. Therefore, the work of the gardener has two primary functions: the gentle art of weeding and the joyful art of planting and nurturing. Weeding is the practice of letting go. It is not a violent war against the weeds. To fight a weed, to hate it and curse it, is to give it your precious energy and attention to water it with the force of your resistance. The wise gardener does not fight the weed. She simply, gently, and firmly removes her attention from it. When a thought of resentment towards someone arises in your mind, you see it for what it is: a weed. You have a choice. You can water it by replaying the story, listing all the reasons you are right, feeding the anger until it is a towering, thorny monstrosity. Or you can acknowledge the weed's presence, resentment, and then deliberately turn your attention away. You withdraw the water of your focus. You turn your face towards the sun of something else. Without your attention, the weed cannot thrive. In the light of your neutral awareness, it begins to wither and lose its power over your inner landscape. This is the practice of the unattached observer, now applied with the purpose of a gardener. But weeding alone only creates an empty plot. The true joy of the gardener is in cultivation. It is in the conscious choice to plant seeds of beauty, peace, and nourishment, and to tend to them daily. What are these seeds? They are thoughts and states of gratitude, compassion, forgiveness, joy, and acceptance. And of all these, the most powerful seed, the one that acts as a miraculous fertilizer for the entire garden, is the seed of gratitude. Gratitude is far more than a polite platitude. It is a profound shift in perception. It is the conscious turning of your attention away from what is missing, what is wrong, and what is lacking in your life, and placing it squarely on the grace that is already present. It is looking past the one withered plant to see the 50 flowers that are in glorious bloom. The practice is simple, but its effects are transformative. Each day, make it a sacred ritual to find 3 things you are genuinely grateful for. Do not just make a mental list. For each one, truly connect with the feeling. If you are grateful for the sun on your face, pause and actually feel its warmth, letting a sensation of gentle joy arise in your chest. If you are grateful for a friend, bring their face to your mind and feel the warmth of that connection in your heart. This embodied feeling is the water. It is what allows the seed of gratitude to take root and flourish. When you begin to water the seeds of gratitude, your entire garden begins to change. The soil becomes richer, the air becomes sweeter, and a strange and wonderful thing happens. The weeds have less and less space to grow. A heart filled with gratitude for the present moment has little room for the resentment of the past or the anxiety for the future. You are actively cultivating a new inner climate. You are choosing to grow roses instead of thorns. This inner garden has a fragrance. A well-tended garden, filled with vibrant flowers and rich, healthy soil, naturally emits a beautiful scent. The gardener does not have to stand at the gate and try to convince passers-by that her garden is beautiful. The fragrance does the work for her. It is a natural, effortless byproduct of the garden's state of being. This fragrance is your vibration. It is the silent broadcast of your soul. When your inner garden is untended, overgrown with the weeds of bitterness, fear, and judgment, you emit a subtle, discordant frequency. You may say all the right words, you may smile and pretend everything is fine, but people, animals, and life itself will feel the jarring scent of your inner chaos. They will feel the thorns. But when you have lovingly tended your garden, when you have consciously cultivated gratitude, peace, and acceptance, you naturally radiate a coherent, harmonious frequency. You broadcast the sweet fragrance of your inner state. This is the influence that requires no words. It is the peace that calms a frantic room. It is the quiet joy that gives another person hope. It is the silent presence that makes others feel safe to remove their own armor. You become a walking sanctuary because your inner garden is a sanctuary. This fragrance, this vibration, this is a language. It is a language that precedes words, a language understood by all of life. But most profoundly, it is the native tongue of the universe itself. The universe, the great intelligence that animates all things, is not primarily responsive to your words or your thoughts of wanting. It does not operate on the frequency of begging or petitioning from a place of lack. It responds, with perfect, lawful precision, to the frequency you are broadcasting from the garden you are cultivating. It matches the scent you are emitting. To learn how to consciously engage in this cosmic conversation, we must now explore the fundamental principles of this silent, powerful language. We must learn the language of frequency. The fragrance of your inner garden, that subtle, energetic signature of your being, is more than just a feeling. It is a language. It is a silent, universal dialect that is understood not by the ears, but by the very fabric of reality itself. To understand this language is to move beyond the realm of simple psychology and into the physics of consciousness. It is to learn how the universe truly listens and what it is responding to. And the secret is this: the universe does not understand English. It does not speak in words, desires, or pleas. It communicates in the primal, undeniable language of frequency. Modern science affirms an ancient spiritual truth. The world of solid objects is a masterful illusion. At the most fundamental level, everything, the chair you are sitting on, the air you are breathing, your body, your very thoughts, is energy. Everything is a dance of vibrating particles and waves, all resonating at different frequencies. You are not a solid entity moving through a solid world. You are a vibrational field interacting with a vast, interconnected vibrational field. You are a complex symphony of frequencies, and the dominant note you are playing at any given moment is what we can call your state of being. Let us use a simple metaphor. Imagine that you are a living tuning fork. Your core emotional state, the overall climate of the garden you are cultivating, determines the specific note you are vibrating at. Now, the laws of physics state that a vibrating tuning fork will cause other tuning forks of the same frequency to begin vibrating in sympathy, even at a distance. This is the principle of resonance. If you are consistently vibrating at the frequency of grievance, broadcasting the note of "life is unfair," you will find that you resonate with, and therefore perceive and attract, people, situations, and events that give you more to feel aggrieved about. It will seem as if you are a victim of bad luck, never realizing you are the tuning fork calling those resonant experiences toward you. Conversely, If you have been diligently tending your garden and you are cultivating the state of gratitude, you are vibrating at a different frequency. You are broadcasting the note of life is abundant and good. Through the law of resonance, you will begin to notice more and more things to be grateful for. Opportunities, kind people, and moments of simple beauty will seem to appear as if by magic. It is not magic, it is physics. You are perceiving and attracting experiences that are a vibrational match to your inner state. Like attracts like. This is the law. This understanding reveals why so much of what is commonly taught about manifestation or the law of attraction so often fails, leading to frustration and self-blame. People are taught to use affirmations, to repeat phrases like, "I am wealthy," while their entire being is vibrating with the powerful frequency of lack. This is like standing in front of your radio and shouting the name of your favorite station at it, hoping it will tune in. It will not. The radio only responds to the turning of the dial. Your affirmations are the shouts. Your state of being, your feeling tone, is the dial. You must tune yourself to the frequency of the reality you wish to experience. This is why your wanting, your desperate craving for something, often pushes it further away. To want something intensely is to be in a powerful state of not having it. Wanting is a broadcast of absence. You are a tuning fork, vibrating at the note of lack, and the universe, in its perfect, impersonal wisdom, simply brings you more experiences that match that frequency more lack. The universe does not give you what you want, it gives you what you are. It does not deliver your verbal order. It mirrors your vibrational signature. The secret then, the key to this entire process, is feeling. Feeling is the bridge between the thought and the vibration. It is the act of generating the frequency within your own body. You do not visualize a loving relationship in order to make it happen out there. You visualize it in order to generate the feeling of being loved and cherished within yourself, right here, right now. That feeling is the frequency, that feeling is the prayer. The universe responds not to the picture in your head, but to the feeling in your heart. You must generate the feeling tone of the reality you desire before it manifests externally. You become a vibrational match to your desire. You tune your radio to the station, and only then can you hear the music. This reframes the entire purpose of spiritual practice. Prayer is not a petition to an external, judgmental God. Prayer is the art of consciously tuning your own frequency. Affirmations are not attempts to fool yourself or the universe. They are tools to help you generate a specific feeling state. Meditation is not an escape from reality. It is the act of silencing the static of the mind so you can consciously choose and stabilize the frequency you wish to broadcast. You are not a powerless beggar hoping for a handout from the cosmos. You are a sovereign creator, a powerful broadcaster standing before an infinite field of all possible stations, all possible realities. Your freedom and your power lie in your ability to choose your frequency, to choose your state of being, independent of current outer circumstances. When you cultivate the feeling of peace in the midst of chaos, you are broadcasting the powerful signal of peace, and the universe must, by law, begin to arrange a reality that mirrors it. When you cultivate the feeling of wholeness while you are single, or the feeling of abundance while your bank account is low, you are performing the highest form of creative magic. You are setting your frequency first, with faith, knowing that the reflection must follow. This is the end of living as a victim of circumstance and the beginning of living as a conscious creator. This all may sound abstract, a grand theory of the mind, but the language of frequency is not an intellectual concept. It is an embodied reality. The tuning dial is not in your head. It is in your heart, your gut, your very cells. It is a felt sense. And to master this language, to become a stable and coherent broadcaster, you need an anchor. You need a way to ground your chosen frequency in the here and now, preventing the winds of daily life from constantly knocking your dial off station. Fortunately, you were born with the perfect instrument for this. The ultimate anchor for your frequency, the one thing that exists only and always in the present moment, is your physical body. It is time to learn how to inhabit this sacred instrument as the powerful grounding rod that it is. We have spoken of the language of frequency, of the universe listening not to your words, but to the vibrational essence of your being. This can feel like a lofty, almost abstract concept, something to be understood by the mind. But the great secret is that the tuning is not a mental act. The broadcasting tower is not an idea. The primary instrument you use to set, to stabilize, and to ground your frequency is the one you have inhabited every second of your life. It is your wise, faithful, and profoundly present physical body. It is the anchor for your soul in the turbulent sea of time. For most of our lives in the modern world, we have been taught to live in a state of exile from the body. We treat it like a machine to be fueled, a beast to be tamed, or an object to be judged and sculpted to fit an external ideal. We live in our heads, divorced from the neck down, experiencing the world as a stream of thoughts, a constant narration. We have forgotten that the body is not just a vehicle for the brain. It is a vessel of immense intelligence, a source of profound wisdom, and the only part of you that lives exclusively and unapologetically in the present moment. Your mind is a time traveler, constantly leaping into the future to worry or wandering back into the past to regret. But your body is always, only, here, now. To feel your breath is to be here. To feel your feet on the floor is to be now. This is why the body is the ultimate anchor. Imagine your awareness is a small ship on the vast ocean of consciousness. The mind creates the weather. On some days the sea is calm, but often it is a raging storm of anxiety, obsessive thinking, and emotional turmoil. We spend so much energy trying to fight the storm, to control the wind and the waves, which is impossible. The wise sailor does not fight the storm. She drops anchor. The anchor plunges through the chaotic surface waters and finds its hold on the stable, unmoving ground of the ocean floor. To drop anchor is to consciously shift your attention from the storm of your thoughts and into the raw physical sensations of your body in the present moment. Let us drop anchor together, right now. Wherever you are, bring your attention to your feet. Do not just think about your feet. Try to feel them from the inside. Feel the points of contact they are making with the ground, or the floor, or the inside of your shoes. Can you feel the subtle sensations within them? A tingling, a warmth, a coolness, a gentle pulse of aliveness. Your feet are your roots into the earth. To fully feel your feet is to instantly ground your energy, to pull your awareness out of the chaotic clouds of thought and into the solid reality of the here and now. Now, do the same with your hands. Feel the life force within them. Feel the air on your skin. Wiggle your fingers and feel the sensation of the movement. You are inhabiting your body. You are dropping anchor. This is the first step. Now, let us embark on a deeper journey of inhabitation. This is a practice of a full body scan. Find a comfortable position and gently close your eyes. Bring your attention, like a soft, warm spotlight, to the toes of your left foot. Just feel what is there, without any judgment. There is no right or wrong way to feel. Numbness is a sensation. Tingling is a sensation. Warmth is a sensation. Simply notice. Now slowly, lovingly, allow that spotlight of awareness to move up through the sole of your foot, to your heel, your ankle. Feel the life in your ankle joint. Continue up into your lower leg, your shin, and your calf. Just feeling, not thinking, but feeling. Move your awareness through your knee, into your thigh, all the way up to your hip. The entire left leg is now glowing with your attention. Now, bring your awareness to your right leg, starting again with the toes. Patiently, curiously, move your spotlight of awareness up through the foot, the ankle, the lower leg, the knee, the thigh, up to the hip. Both of your legs are now anchored in your awareness. Feel their solidity, their connection to the earth. Now bring your attention to your pelvic area, your abdomen. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your belly as you breathe. Move your awareness up into your chest. Can you feel the subtle, steady beat of your heart? This faithful muscle beating for you, moment after moment, without any conscious instruction. Send a wave of gratitude to it. Allow your awareness to travel into your back, your lower back, your mid-back, your shoulder blades. Feel the points of contact your back is making with the chair or surface beneath you. Now bring your attention down your arms, through your elbows, your forearms, your wrists, into your hands and all 10 fingers. Feel the energy field of both your arms simultaneously. Finally, bring your awareness to your neck, your jaw, let it be soft, your face, your scalp, the very top of your head. For a moment, hold your entire body in your awareness as one single, vibrant, interconnected field of energy. You are not a thought, you are not a story, you are this field of aliveness. This is your anchor, this is your home. From this place of deep inner connection, you can use your senses to anchor you even further into the present. Gently open your eyes, without moving your head and without labeling anything with words. Simply allow your eyes to rest on 5 different objects in your field of vision. Just see them, the color, the texture. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, bring your awareness to your sense of touch. Notice 4 things you can feel: the texture of your clothes against your skin, the solidness of the chair beneath you, the temperature of the air, the feeling of your own hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, listen. What are 3 things you can hear right now? The hum of a machine, a distant bird, the sound of your own breathing. 1, 2, 3. Now, what are 2 things you can smell? Perhaps the scent of the room or a lingering fragrance. 1, 2. And finally, what is 1 thing you can taste? The lingering taste of coffee or just the neutral taste of your own mouth? 1. You are here. You are now. The storm of the mind has receded because you have anchored yourself fully in the sensory reality of the present moment. This is more than a relaxation technique. This is a profound act of stabilizing your frequency. An anxious, scattered mind broadcasts a chaotic, incoherent signal. It is full of static, pulled in 1,000 directions by past and future. A grounded presence anchored in the body broadcasts a clear, steady, powerful signal. It is the frequency of stability, of presence, of peace. When you are fully in your body, you are fully in the now, and the now is the only point of power. It is the only place from which you can consciously and deliberately broadcast your chosen frequency, the fragrance of your tended garden. This practice of inhabiting your body does more than just calm your own mind. It fundamentally alters the energy you bring into every human encounter. When you are disembodied, lost in your head, you meet other people with a scattered, needy, or defensive energy. You are not really there with them. You are interacting with your thoughts about them. But when you are anchored in the stillness of your own body, you meet them with the most precious and healing gift you can offer, your full presence. This presence creates a space, a quiet, safe, accepting space where true listening can occur and where their own authenticity feels safe enough to emerge. The greatest influence you have on another person is not what you say, but the quality of the space you hold for them. And that space is born from your own grounded stillness. Let us now explore the quiet magic that unfolds in the space between people. Having anchored yourself in the solid ground of your own body, you have cultivated a portable sanctuary, a quiet inner space that is yours alone. You have learned to be present with yourself, Now, we take this profound gift and we bring it into the world. We bring it into our interactions with other human beings. For the greatest effect you will ever have on another person comes not from the brilliance of your words, but from the quality of the presence you offer them. We are about to discover that true influence is not something you project onto another. It is a sacred space you create with them. It is the magic that unfolds in the space between people. First, we must be brutally honest with ourselves about what we normally call listening. For most of us, most of the time, we are not listening. We are waiting. We are waiting for our turn to speak. Our ears may be receiving sound waves, but our mind is engaged in a furious, self-centered activity. We are listening through a thick filter of our own ego. We listen to find flaws in their argument, preparing our rebuttal. We listen for a keyword that will allow us to tell our own, more interesting story. We listen for a problem so we can leap in with a solution, proving our value and intelligence. We listen for a flicker of sadness so we can rush in with premature reassurance, not because they need it, but because their discomfort makes us uncomfortable. Think of these egoic roles. There is the fixer, who believes their worth comes from having the answers. There is the story topper, who feels invisible unless the conversation revolves around them. There is the debater, who feels powerful only when they are right. There is the judge, who is constantly assessing and labeling. All of these roles, which we slip into unconsciously, have one thing in common. They are not about the other person. They are about us. They are about maintaining our sense of self, our identity. This is not communication. It is a series of intersecting monologues. It is noise. And it is why so many people in this world feel so profoundly alone and unheard, even when surrounded by others. Tonight, we learn a different way. It is the way of deep, generative listening. This kind of listening is not a technique. It is a state of being. It is the conscious choice to put your entire personal agenda aside, your memories, your opinions, your advice, your stories, and to become a completely receptive vessel. It is the practice of offering another human being the empty, spacious, non-judgmental awareness you have been cultivating within yourself. This is one of the most radical and loving acts you can perform. Imagine your consciousness is a clear, still lake. When another person comes to speak with you, they are like the sky, hoping to see their own reflection. If your lake is turbulent, churning with the ripples of your own thoughts, judgments, and desire to speak, the reflection they see will be distorted and fragmented. They will see your ripples, not their sky. They will leave the interaction feeling unseen and misunderstood. But if you can still the waters of your own mind, if you can allow your presence to become calm, deep, and reflective, they will look at you and see themselves with a breathtaking clarity they have never experienced before. They see their own clouds, their own sun, their own moon. In your silent, reflective presence, they hear themselves for the first time. This is the secret of true influence. You do not help someone by giving them your answers. You help them by creating a silent, sacred space where they can discover their own. Your stillness is the catalyst. Your grounded presence is the crucible in which their own transformation can occur. When you listen in this way, you are doing far more than just being quiet. You are actively holding space. You are creating a powerful, energetic container of safety. Your own grounded nervous system, anchored in your body, acts like a tuning fork of calm, and their nervous system, through the law of resonance, begins to co-regulate with yours. Their defensiveness melts. Their armor, which we have spoken of, begins to feel safe enough to loosen. The anxious chatter in their own mind begins to quiet because you are modeling a state of peace. And in this space, something magical happens. The person begins to unravel their own knots. The solution to their problem, which was obscured by their own mental noise, suddenly becomes obvious. The insight they were searching for emerges from their own depths. They will often leave the conversation saying, "Thank you so much, you helped me a lot," and you will know that you did almost nothing. You did not advise, you did not fix, you did not even speak much. All you did was offer the priceless gift of a still lake. You allowed them to see themselves. This is the influence of the wise elder, the great therapist, the true friend. It is an influence that empowers, rather than creating dependency. A key element of this practice is learning to love silence. Our culture is terrified of silence in conversation. We see it as awkward, a void that must be immediately filled with more words, more noise. But the deep listener understands that silence is not empty. It is pregnant. It is fertile. The moments of silence in a conversation are where the truth has room to land. It is where the speaker integrates what they have just said. It is where a deeper, more authentic feeling can surface. When you rush to fill a silence, you are interrupting a sacred process. You are demonstrating your own anxiety. The courageous listener learns to hold the silence, to rest in it, to trust it. They create a container so safe that the other person feels no pressure to speak until they are truly ready. This comfort with silence is a superpower. Let us try to connect with this experience now. I invite you to recall a time in your life when you felt truly, deeply heard by another person. Bring that memory to the forefront of your mind. See the person's face. Remember the setting. What was it about their presence that made you feel so safe? What did they do? Chances are they did very little. They likely did not interrupt. They did not immediately offer a solution. They were not looking at their phone. They simply looked at you. They were simply there. Their presence was a quiet, open space. Now, how did that feel in your body? You probably felt a sense of release, of lightening. You felt seen. You felt validated. You felt your own shoulders drop and your breath deepen. That feeling is the power of generative listening. That is the gift you now have the capacity to offer others. Now, let us practice this internally for the parts of you that most need to be heard. Bring your awareness inside, and I want you to invite a part of you that is worried or afraid to come forward. Perhaps it is a fear about your finances, your health, or your future. Normally, you might try to push this voice away, to argue with it, or to distract yourself from it. This time, do something different. Become the still lake for this worried part of yourself. Create a vast, silent, compassionate space within you and allow this voice to speak without judgment. Let the fear express itself fully. What are you afraid of? What do you need? What are you trying to protect me from? Listen to its answers with the same deep, receptive presence you would offer a cherished friend. You will be amazed at what happens. When these exiled parts of ourselves are finally met with our own compassionate, listening presence, they begin to soften, they begin to heal. The inner war starts to end. This practice of deep listening, both to others and to ourselves, is a profound letting go of control. It is the surrender of the ego's need to be the one who knows, the one who fixes, the one who is right. It is a deep trust in the wisdom that can emerge from the spaciousness, from the silence, from the other person, from life itself. It is the understanding that your greatest strength is not in your action, but in the quality of your being, not in your voice, but in your stillness. This profound lesson in releasing control, in trusting the wisdom that arises from the empty space, is not limited to your conversations with other people. It is a master key to your relationship with life itself. What if you could learn to stop trying to fix, manage, and control every outcome, every person, every moment of your life's unfolding? What if you could bring this same spacious, trusting, listening presence to reality as it presents itself to you each day? This is the ultimate spiritual surrender. This is the art of allowing. In the sacred, silent space of deep listening, we discover a profound power. It is the power that comes not from doing, but from being. Not from speaking, but from stillness. Not from forcing our own agenda, but from allowing another's truth to unfold in its own time. We can now take this radical and liberating principle and apply it to the grandest conversation of all, our ongoing conversation with life itself. We can learn to release the tight, white-knuckled grip of control we have on reality and open our hand to the graceful, intelligent, and mysterious flow of being. This is the master practice for a life of peace. This is the art of allowing. Look closely at the nature of your own suffering. Trace your anxiety, your frustration, your anger, and your disappointment back to their source. At the root of almost all of it, you will find one thing: a battle against what is. You have a picture in your mind of how things should be, how people should act, how your life should unfold. And then reality, in its infinite and uncontrollable wisdom, presents you with what is. The gap between your mental picture and the present reality is the birthplace of your suffering. The ego, in its terror of the unknown, believes that its primary job is to manage, to predict, and to control reality. It spends its days creating meticulous plans, running endless what-if scenarios, and trying to force the wild, untamable river of life into a straight, concrete canal of its own design. This need for control is a tyranny. It creates a constant, low-grade hum of anxiety. It manifests as physical tension in your body, the clenched jaw, the tight shoulders, the shallow breath. It is the posture of a being braced for impact, resisting a world it does not trust. And it is utterly futile. It is like trying to command the tides or schedule the sunrise. Life is, by its very nature, wild, unpredictable, and outside of your control. To live in a state of resistance to this fact is to condemn yourself to a life of perpetual struggle and frustration. The art of allowing is the decision to end this foolish war. But let us be very clear. Allowing is not passive resignation. It is not helpless victimhood. Resignation is a low-energy state of despair that says, "There's nothing I can do. Life is happening to me." It is the ego giving up in defeat. Allowing, on the other hand, is a high-energy state of profound trust. It is the wisdom that says, "Life is happening for me, even when I don't understand how. I will work with what is, not against it." It is the empowered act of saying yes to the reality of the present moment so that you may respond to it with clarity and grace, rather than reacting against it with fear and resistance. Imagine your life is a great river. For years, you have been in a small boat, convinced that you must paddle upstream against the current. You believe that your destination lies in the opposite direction of the river's flow, and so you paddle with all your might. Your muscles ache, sweat pours from your brow, your heart pounds with the strain. You are filled with anxiety and frustration, because for all your heroic effort, you are making painstakingly slow progress. You see others drifting past you, and you curse the river, you curse your boat, you curse your own weakness. This is the life of resistance and control. The art of allowing is the moment of sweet surrender. It is the moment you finally recognize the futility of your struggle. With a deep sigh of relief, you pull your oars out of the water and lay them down in the boat. You stop fighting. You turn your boat around and you allow the river's current to take you. Immediately, the struggle ceases. The boat begins to move with a speed and grace you could never have achieved with your own frantic efforts. You are no longer wasting your energy fighting the river. You are now using the river's own immense energy as your engine. You can finally look around. You can see the beauty of the trees on the riverbank, feel the warmth of the sun, hear the birdsong you were deaf to before. Now, this does not mean you lie down and let the boat crash into the rocks. This is not helplessness. You are still an active and conscious participant. You pick up the rudder. The rudder is your conscious awareness, your power of choice in the present moment. You are not controlling the river's speed or its ultimate direction, but you are skillfully navigating your path within it. You use the rudder of your wisdom to steer around the obvious obstacles of self-sabotage. You guide your boat into the channels that feel most peaceful and alive. You work with the energy of the river, not against it. This is the dance of allowing. This is how it looks in your daily life. You are stuck in a traffic jam. The controller, the resistor, tightens their grip on the steering wheel. Their blood pressure rises. They fume, they curse, they are at war with the reality of the situation. They are paddling furiously against the unmovable current of the traffic. The practitioner of allowing takes a deep breath. They say yes to the reality. Okay, this is the situation now. I cannot change it. They pull their oars from the water, then they pick up their rudder. What is the most graceful way to be in this moment? I can listen to this audiobook. I can practice my breathing. I can simply be present. They have turned a moment of suffering into a moment of peace, simply by releasing the need to control the uncontrollable. A person critiques you. The resistor immediately throws up a wall of defense, preparing arguments, justifying their position. They are at war. The practitioner of allowing lets the words come. They do not have to absorb them as truth. They simply allow the other person to be who they are, to have their own perspective. They create a space of non-reaction, and from that calm space, they can choose a conscious response rather than being pulled into a pointless battle. Your carefully made plans fall through. A trip is cancelled. A project is denied. The controller despairs. This is a disaster. Everything is ruined. It feels like the end of the world. The practitioner of allowing feels the disappointment, but also asks a different question. Where is the river turning? What is this unexpected detour inviting me to see that I would have missed on my original rigid path? This is a profound trust in the river's intelligence, a faith that even its unexpected turns are leading you where you ultimately need to go. Living in the flow of allowance is not a life without action. It is a life without struggle. It is the end of forcing, pushing, and straining. When you stop wasting your life force trying to paddle against the current, you become exquisitely sensitive to the subtleties of the flow. You begin to feel a gentle nudge from life, an intuitive pull, a clear inner knowing that says, now is the time to act, or now is the time to be still and wait. This guidance does not come from the anxious, calculating mind. It arises from the stillness of your connection to the river itself. This is the birth of a new kind of action, an action that feels effortless, graceful, and powerful. It is the difference between the frantic pushing of the ego and the wise, potent dance of inspired action. Having learned to surrender the oars of struggle and trust the current of life, a vital question emerges from the quiet flow. If we are no longer forcing, no longer paddling frantically against the stream, then how do we move? How do we act? Is a life of allowing a life of passivity? The answer is a profound and liberating no. A life of allowing does not end action, it ends struggle. It is the gateway to a more potent, graceful, and effective way of engaging with the world. It is the difference between the exhausting battle of forced action and the exhilarating dance of inspired action. For your entire life, you have likely been fueled by forced action. It is the default mode of our striving, ego-driven culture. Forced action is born from the mind's calculation and fueled by the emotions of fear and lack. It is the voice that says, I should go to the gym. I have to finish this project or my boss will be angry. I must find a partner or I will be alone forever. Listen to the energy of those statements. They are heavy. They are born of obligation, of anxiety, of a deep-seated belief that if you do not push, strive, and force, something terrible will happen or something essential will not be gained. Forced action feels like pushing a boulder uphill. It is a constant strain against an invisible resistance. It is the reason you procrastinate on tasks, that you know you should do, your spirit is resisting the dead, joyless energy behind the action. When you are engaged in forced action, you feel drained, burdened, and often resentful. It is a battle against yourself and against the world. You are trying to bend reality to your will, to impose your timeline and your desired outcome onto the infinitely more complex and intelligent flow of life. And while you may achieve some results through this sheer, grinding effort, the cost is immense. It leads to burnout, to a loss of vitality, and to a life that feels more like a long, hard chore than a joyful adventure. But there is another way. As you continue to practice presence, to sit on the riverbank of your mind, to anchor yourself in your body, you become sensitive to a different kind of impulse. It does not come from the loud, demanding voice of the ego. It comes from the stillness. It is a quiet whisper, a gentle nudge, a subtle pull from a deeper part of your being. This is the call to inspired action. Inspired action arises not from fear, but from a place of fullness and alignment. It is the natural overflow of your being when you are connected to the flow of life. Let us use the metaphor of a surfer. The surfer who practices forced action thrashes about in the water, frantically trying to catch every small ripple, wasting enormous energy and rarely catching a good ride. But the wise surfer, the one who understands inspired action, sits on their board in a state of calm, alert presence. They are not passive, they are deeply attuned. They feel the rhythm of the ocean. They watch the horizon. They let dozens of mediocre waves pass by. And then they feel it a subtle swell, a shift in the energy of the water. They know, from a place deeper than thought, this is the one. With a few perfectly timed, powerful strokes, they align themselves with the immense power of the wave and experience an exhilarating, effortless ride to shore. They have not created the wave. They have simply aligned with its power. This is the feeling of inspired action. It feels light. It feels energizing. It feels like you are being assisted by a force much larger than yourself. There is no inner conflict, no sense of should or have to. There is only a clear, simple yes. When you are engaged in inspired action, time seems to fall away. You are in a state of flow. You are not pushing the boulder uphill. You are joyfully walking alongside it as it rolls downhill, merely guiding its path. The results of inspired action are often disproportionately powerful. It is the right word, spoken at the right time, the one phone call that opens a dozen doors, the sudden solution that elegantly solves a problem you have been struggling with for months. It is life working through you, not just because of you. The great challenge is learning to distinguish between the loud demands of the ego and the quiet whisper of intuition. This is the most crucial discernment you can develop. Let us create a field guide to these inner voices. The ego shouts, intuition whispers. The ego's voice is loud, frantic, and demanding. It creates a sense of urgency and pressure. Intuition, however, is almost always quiet. It is a gentle, persistent nudge. It does not scream for your attention. It waits for you to become quiet enough to hear it. The ego is emotionally charged. Intuition is emotionally neutral. The ego's voice is wrapped in heavy emotions. It is the voice of fear. Don't do that, you'll fail. Of pride, you have to prove them wrong. Or of lack, you need this to be happy. Intuition, on the other hand, is calm. It is a matter-of-fact knowing. The guidance may be to take a courageous or difficult step, but the voice itself is not fraught with emotion. It is clear and peaceful. The ego tells complex stories. Intuition gives simple guidance. The ego loves narrative. It will present you with a detailed and logical-sounding argument, usually based on past evidence or future fears, to justify its demands. Intuition is not a storyteller. It is direct. It often comes as a single word or a simple feeling. Wait, go left, Call this person. It does not usually offer a long explanation as to why. It is a simple, direct knowing. Most importantly, the ego and intuition feel different in your body. The ego's commands create a feeling of contraction. Your shoulders tense, your stomach gets tight, you feel a knot of anxiety. It is the feeling of bracing, of preparing for a struggle. Intuition, even when it is guiding you towards something that your mind perceives as scary, creates a feeling of expansion, of rightness, of peace. It is a sense of inner alignment, a quiet hum of yes that resonates through your cells. Your body is your ultimate truth detector. Learn to listen to its response when you consider a course of action. Your body knows the difference between a whisper of truth and a shout of fear. So, how do you cultivate this connection to your inner compass? You have already been doing the work. Every moment you spend in stillness, every time you anchor yourself in your body, every time you witness your thoughts without judgment, you are turning down the volume of the ego's static. A quiet mind is the prerequisite for clear hearing. You can also practice by consciously asking a question to your deeper self. What is the most loving action I can take here? And then, you must let it go. Do not try to mentally figure out the answer. You have posed the question. Now trust that the answer will arise in its own time, often when you are relaxed and not thinking about it, like when you are taking a walk or in the shower. To build your trust in this guidance, start by acting on the small, intuitive nudges. The sudden urge to listen to a particular song, to take a different route home, to reach out to a friend you haven't spoken to in years. These are low-stakes opportunities to test your inner guidance system. As you follow these small whispers and see the positive, often surprising results, you will build the confidence to trust the larger guidance when it comes. When you begin to live in this dance, consistently choosing the path of inspired action over the struggle of forced action, you enter into a new relationship with reality. You are no longer a lone soldier fighting a battle, but a dance partner in a beautiful and intelligent choreography. And you begin to notice something magical. The world seems to rearrange itself to support your inspired steps. You think of a friend, and they call. You need a piece of information, and a book falls off a shelf into your lap. You take one small, intuitive step, and a door you never knew existed swings open before you. These are not random accidents. They are landmarks on the path of flow. They are the universe winking at you, confirming that you are in alignment with its current. This beautiful and mysterious phenomenon is called synchronicity, and it is the next landmark on our journey inward. As you learn to quiet the frantic paddling of the ego and align yourself with the powerful, intelligent current of life, something extraordinary begins to happen. You move from a state of struggle to a state of dance, and you start to notice that the world itself seems to be dancing with you. A quiet magic seeps into the fabric of your days. You think of a long-lost friend, and a moment later, a message arrives from them. You are wrestling with a difficult question, and the answer appears, as if by chance, in a line from a song on the radio or a sentence in a book you randomly open. These are not mere coincidences. These are landmarks on the path of flow. These are moments when the veil between your inner world and the outer world thins, and the universe winks at you. This is the beautiful and reassuring phenomenon of synchronicity. Synchronicity is a term coined by the psychologist Carl Jung to describe a meaningful coincidence. It is a moment where two or more seemingly unrelated events intersect in a way that holds a profound and personal significance for the person experiencing it. It is one thing for two people in a large city to be wearing the same coat. It is another thing entirely for you to be considering a difficult move to a new city, feeling lost and alone, only to look up and see a moving truck from that very city pass by with the slogan, "Welcome Home," painted on its side. The first is a coincidence. The second is a synchronicity. It is a wink from the cosmos. It is a message delivered not through logic, but through the poetic language of symbols and events. For most of our lives, living from the ego and its belief in a random, separate world, these events are dismissed as flukes, if they are noticed at all. But as you begin to live from a place of presence, trust, and alignment, the frequency of these synchronicities will increase dramatically. This is because they are the natural feedback of a system that is coming into harmony. When you are living in a state of resistance, fighting the current, your energy is discordant. You are out of sync with the flow of life, and so your experience of the world feels random, difficult, and hostile. But when you are in a state of allowing, of trust, of acting from intuition, you become in sync. You are vibrating in harmony with the larger field, and so the universe begins to communicate with you to affirm your path. These synchronicities are the blaze marks on the trail of your life's journey. When you are hiking deep in the wilderness, unsure if you are on the right path, the sight of a small, deliberate stack of stones or a painted mark on a tree brings an immense feeling of relief and reassurance. It tells you, yes, you are on the path. Keep going. Synchronicities serve the exact same function for your soul's journey. They are confirmations from your deeper self, from the intelligence of the universe, that you are aligned, that you are moving in the right direction. They are the universe's way of saying, I see you, I am with you, keep trusting. How do you recognize these landmarks? The first sign is the feeling they produce. A true synchronicity cuts through the noise of everyday life and stops you in your tracks. It is often accompanied by a physical sensation, a chill down your spine, a sudden intake of breath, a feeling of goosebumps on your skin. It brings a sense of wonder, awe, and deep rightness. It can feel like a private joke between you and God. It dissolves your sense of being a small, isolated self and connects you to a larger, benevolent intelligence that is actively participating in your life. They also tend to appear at pivotal times. When you have just made a courageous decision, when you have let go of something that was no longer serving you, or when you are asking a deep question from your heart, the universe often responds with a synchronistic confirmation. You may also notice recurring patterns, seeing the same number sequence, like 1111 or 444 on clocks and license plates, encountering the same animal symbol repeatedly, or hearing the same unique phrase from multiple different sources. These are not signs to be obsessively decoded by the egoic mind, but rather gentle reminders to pay attention, to stay present, and to acknowledge that you are in a period of heightened connection and flow. It is crucial, however, to distinguish between the joyful recognition of synchronicity and the anxious, ego-driven practice of sign hunting. The ego, in its insecurity, will try to co-opt this beautiful phenomenon and turn it into a tool for control. It will start desperately looking for signs to validate every small decision, trying to force the universe to give it a guaranteed map. This leads only to superstition, anxiety, and seeing false patterns everywhere. You cannot force synchronicity. You cannot make the landmarks appear by looking for them more intently. The correct approach is one of relaxed, open awareness. You do not hunt for the landmarks. You simply walk your path with as much presence and love as you can, and you notice them when they naturally appear on the trail. The hiker who is constantly staring at their feet, obsessively looking for the next blaze mark, misses the breathtaking view, the beautiful flowers, and the joy of the journey itself. The landmarks are there to confirm the journey, not to be the journey. Your work is to tend your inner garden, to stay in your body, to trust the flow. The synchronicities are the flowers that bloom effortlessly as a result of that work. So, what is the proper response when the universe winks at you? It is wonderfully simple. The first step is to simply notice. Acknowledge the event. Pause for a moment and let the feeling of wonder and gratitude sink in. The second step is to receive the gift. Let it reassure you. Let it dissolve your fears. Let it remind you that you are not alone. And the third step is to offer a quiet, internal thank you. This simple act of gratitude completes the feedback loop. It is like saying to the universe, "Message received. Thank you for the confirmation." This acknowledgement strengthens your connection and your trust, creating an inner environment that is even more receptive to this graceful dialogue. These synchronicities are not just random feel-good moments. They are tangible evidence of a profound universal law at work. They are the immediate, delightful echoes of your moments of alignment. But this law of echo, this principle of reflection, works in all directions. It is not just the joyful moments that are echoed back to you. Every state of being, every frequency you broadcast from your inner garden weaves a thread into the larger pattern of your life. The universe is always listening and always reflecting. This intricate, lawful weaving of cause and effect, this perfect mirroring of your inner state in your outer world, is the true, energetic meaning of what the ancient sages called karma. It is the ultimate expression of the universe as a flawless feedback system. The delightful phenomenon of synchronicity is the universe's immediate feedback, the instantaneous and joyful echo of a moment of pure alignment. But what of the echoes that take longer to return? What of the larger, recurring patterns in our lives, the themes and challenges that seem to follow us, no matter how we try to change our outer circumstances? To understand these, we must look deeper at a law as old as consciousness itself. It is a law often shrouded in misconception, fear, and fatalism. It is the universal law of cause and effect applied to energy and consciousness. It is the law of karma. Before we proceed, we must strip away the layers of distortion that have been painted over this profound spiritual truth. Karma is not the judgment of an angry sky god, tallying your good and bad deeds in a cosmic ledger. It is not a system of reward and punishment designed to keep you in line, and it is certainly not a predetermined script that you are forced to live out. These are childish interpretations of a law that is as impersonal, as precise, and as unfailing as the law of gravity. Karma is simply the spiritual equivalent of Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. It is the law of the returning echo. It is the universe flawlessly mirroring your own energy back to you over time. The crucial understanding that elevates this from a simple mechanical law to a spiritual one is the definition of action. The primary cause, the initial action that sets a karmic pattern in motion, is not your physical deed. It is the vibrational state, the inner frequency from which that deed arises. Two people can perform the exact same outer action, but if the inner energy behind those actions is different, the karmic echo, the returning effect, will also be completely different. Imagine one person gives money to a homeless man out of a genuine, heartfelt overflow of compassion and a feeling of shared humanity. Imagine another person gives the same amount of money out of a feeling of guilt, a desire to be seen as a good person, or a cold sense of duty. The outer action is identical, but the energetic cause, the frequency being broadcast, is worlds apart. One broadcasts a frequency of love and unity, the other broadcasts a frequency of guilt and separation. The universe, in its perfect wisdom, does not respond to the outer show. It responds to the inner truth. It echoes the frequency. Let us imagine your life as a great and intricate tapestry being woven on the loom of time. Every thought you think, every word you speak, every emotion you feel, every state of being you inhabit is a single thread. The loom itself is the eternal present moment. It is the only place where the weaving actually happens. And you, the conscious, aware presence reading these words, you are the weaver. In every single moment, you are choosing a thread from the infinite basket of possibilities beside you, and you are weaving it into the grand design. You have threads of all colors and textures. There is the fiery, coarse, red thread of anger. There is the soft, shimmering golden thread of gratitude. there is the heavy, grey thread of fear and the deep, soothing blue thread of peace. When you look back at your life, you are looking at the portion of the tapestry that is already woven. You can see the patterns clearly. Perhaps there is a recurring pattern of broken relationships, a jagged line of betrayal, woven with the threads of suspicion and mistrust. Perhaps there is a dense, dark patch of financial lack, woven with the threads of anxiety and a belief in scarcity. Perhaps there are also beautiful, luminous sections, woven with the golden threads of joy and connection. For most of our lives, we have believed we are merely observers of this tapestry, victims of its patterns, wondering why the design is as it is. The moment of true awakening, the moment you reclaim your power, is the moment you realize that you are not the victim of the tapestry, you are the weaver. You have been choosing the threads all along, mostly unconsciously. This realization can be daunting at first, as it asks you to take full responsibility for the patterns in your life. But it is also the most liberating truth there is. Because if you are the weaver, it means you can change the pattern. You cannot go back and unweave the past. That part of the tapestry is complete, but the future of the design is not yet created. And the thread you choose to weave in this exact moment, right now, determines the direction of the new pattern. This is the true meaning of clearing your karma. It is not about performing enough good deeds to balance some cosmic scale. It is not about rituals or penance. You clear your karma, you change your life's pattern by changing your state of being in the present moment. The moment you consciously choose to pick up the blue thread of forgiveness instead of the red thread of resentment, you have just altered your future karma. The moment you choose to feel the frequency of abundance and gratitude for what you have, instead of the frequency of lack for what you do not, you begin weaving a new pattern of prosperity. The past loses its momentum when you cease to feed its patterns with your present moment attention. This is why all the practices we have explored are the ultimate tools for transforming your life at the deepest level. When you learn to observe your thoughts, you become aware of which threads you are habitually reaching for. When you learn to allow your emotions, you stop unconsciously weaving with the dark threads of suppressed pain. When you anchor yourself in the present moment, you bring yourself to the loom, the only place where you have the power to make a new choice. Your presence is the master weaver, consciously selecting the threads of peace, love, and trust, moment by moment by moment. You are no longer weaving a chaotic, reactive pattern based on fear. You are beginning to weave a masterpiece. When you fully embrace your role as the weaver of your own karmic tapestry, a new sense of sovereign responsibility arises. You are no longer a victim of fate. You are an artist at the loom. And every conscious artist must eventually ask themselves a question that transcends the mere mechanics of their craft. It is no longer a question of, why is this pattern happening to me? But rather, what is the picture I am choosing to create? You begin to look at the emerging design not as a series of random events, but as a work of art with a potential theme and message. This naturally leads you to contemplate the ultimate meaning of the artwork itself. What is the grand purpose of this beautiful, intricate, and sometimes painful design you are weaving with the very threads of your being? Having embraced your role as the conscious weaver of your life's tapestry, a question of ultimate significance naturally arises from the heart of your newfound creative power. It is the great human question, the one that has echoed through the souls of mystics, philosophers, and every thoughtful person who has ever lived. Why am I here? What is the purpose of this beautiful, intricate, and sometimes painful pattern I am weaving? For centuries, we have approached this question as a problem to be solved, a cosmic riddle to which we must find the one correct answer, believing that our happiness and fulfillment depend on it. Today we will discover that the frantic search for purpose is the very thing that obscures it. The purpose of your life is not a destination you must find. It is a state of being you are invited to inhabit, right here, right now. Our culture has sold us a very specific and very stressful idea of purpose. It is presented as a kind of heroic quest. You are the protagonist of your story, and your mission is to venture out into the world and find your one true calling, your singular passion, your unique role that will define you and give your life meaning. This model turns the search for purpose into a source of immense anxiety. We look at others who seem to have found their thing, and we feel inadequate, lost, or behind in life. We agonize over our choices, terrified of picking the wrong career, the wrong path, the wrong purpose. This entire frantic search is a game of the ego. The ego, in its endless quest for a solid identity, desires a grand and impressive label. It wants to be the world-changing entrepreneur, the celebrated artist, the Nobel Prize-winning scientist. It believes that if it can just find and claim one of these magnificent roles, its deep-seated feelings of inadequacy will finally be healed. It will have a permanent brick to place in the fortress of its identity, proving its significance to the world. But this is just another form of striving. It is future-oriented, always placing true meaning and fulfillment in a destination you have not yet reached. And as we have learned, any model for life that depends on a future destination for its fulfillment is a guaranteed recipe for present-moment dissatisfaction. The truth about purpose is at once simpler and more profound. To understand it, we must distinguish between two levels of purpose: your outer purpose and your inner purpose. Your outer purpose is the what. It is what you do in the world. It is the form that your life takes on the outside. Your outer purpose is conditioned by time and circumstance, and it will almost certainly change, perhaps many times, throughout your life. In one phase of your life, your outer purpose might be to get an education. In another, it might be to raise a family. Later, it might be to create a beautiful garden, to care for an aging parent, to build a community, to teach, or to heal. These roles and tasks are important. They are the channels through which you engage with the world, but they are secondary. They are not your true primary purpose. Your inner purpose, your primary purpose, is the how. It is the quality of consciousness you bring to whatever you are doing. Your inner purpose never changes. It is the same for every human being, and it is available to you in every single moment of your life, regardless of your external situation. Your inner purpose is to awaken. It is to be present. It is to align your thoughts and actions with the unfolding intelligence of the universe. It is to bring the light of consciousness into this world. That is your foremost function. When you make your inner purpose your priority, your outer purpose begins to unfold with a grace and effortlessness you could never have achieved by chasing it. Let us return to our metaphor of the sun. Imagine the sun having an existential crisis. What is my purpose? Should I be focusing my energy on warming Earth? Or should I be more concerned with Saturn? Am I shining brightly enough today? What if I'm not living up to my full potential as a star? The entire notion is absurd. The sun's primary purpose is not an external goal. Its purpose is to be a sun. Its inner purpose is to engage in the ceaseless, magnificent nuclear fusion that is its essential nature. The outer purpose, the warming of planets, the creation of weather, the enabling of every form of life in our solar system, is an effortless, natural, and magnificent consequence of the sun fulfilling its primary, inner nature. It does not try to give life. By being itself, life flourishes all around it. You are the same. Your primary purpose is not to figure out how to save the world. It is to awaken to your own true nature. It is to be fully present in your own life. And as you dedicate yourself to this inner purpose, your outer purpose, the good you do in the world, will flow from you as naturally and as effortlessly as light flows from the sun. You stop chasing a purpose. and you begin to embody your purpose. This realization is the key that unlocks a life of profound meaning, and it liberates you from the tyranny of needing to do something grand or important. If your primary purpose is to be present, then you can fulfill the ultimate purpose of your existence right now, while performing the most mundane of tasks. Let us consider the simple act of washing a single teacup. You can do this unconsciously, your mind lost in a fog of anxieties and plans, your body moving on autopilot. In this state, the act is meaningless, a chore to be rushed through. Or you can bring your primary purpose to it. You can feel the warmth of the water on your hands. You can see the iridescent bubbles of the soap. You can hear the sound of the cup against the basin. You can pay full, loving attention to the simple reality of this one small act. In that moment of awakened consciousness, you are not just washing a cup, you are fulfilling your life's purpose. You are anchoring the light of presence on this earth. You are doing the most important work there is. This applies to everything. When you listen to your child, not while scrolling on your phone, but with your full, undivided, loving presence, you are fulfilling your purpose. When you write an email, not with frantic, stressed energy, but with calm, focused attention, you are fulfilling your purpose. When you walk down the street and feel your feet on the pavement and the air on your skin, you are fulfilling your purpose. You are transforming the quality of this world by bringing the transformative power of consciousness into its every corner. The how elevates the what. Presence makes the mundane sacred. When you make this shift, when your primary aim in life is no longer to achieve a purpose but to be present, your outer purpose clarifies itself. It ceases to be a source of anxiety and instead becomes a joyful unfolding. The intuitive nudges we spoke of become clearer and more frequent. You are guided, step by step, to the outer forms and activities that are the most perfect expression of your awakened state of being. You don't have to find your purpose anymore. You relax, you become present, and you allow your purpose to find you. When you dedicate your life to this inner purpose, when your primary aim is simply to be a vessel for presence, you inevitably begin to shine. You emanate a quality of being, a light of consciousness that has a profound, silent effect on everyone and everything around you. You become, in effect, a lighthouse. A lighthouse does not have a complex, striving purpose. It does not worry if it is fulfilling its potential. It does not chase ships to save them or shout instructions across the waves. It simply stands, anchored to its rock, and fulfills its one essential nature. It shines. And by this simple, silent, unwavering act of shining, it provides guidance, hope, and direction to all those who are navigating the dark and stormy waters. This is the next phase of your unfolding. This is the grace of becoming the lighthouse. When your life's purpose shifts from a destination, you must reach to a state of being you choose to inhabit in each moment. A natural and powerful transformation occurs. You cease your frantic striving to absorb light from the world in the form of approval, validation, and success, and you begin instead to generate your own. You become a source. You become, in essence, a lighthouse. This is not an identity to be claimed by the ego, but a function that you begin to serve naturally, a consequence of your dedication to your own inner presence. Consider the lighthouse. It stands on the shore, solitary, strong, and unmoving. Its foundation is not built upon the shifting sands of public opinion or passing circumstance, but is anchored deep into the bedrock of the earth itself. This bedrock is the silent, changeless ground of being that you have learned to touch within yourself. It is your connection to the stillness, your anchor in the body, your home in the eternal now. The tower itself is tall and unwavering. It endures the lashing rain, the howling winds, and the crashing waves, year after year. It does not bend, it does not complain, it does not shrink from the weather. This is the stability of your awakened awareness, your capacity to remain present and observant, no matter what storms may be raging in the outer world. And then there is the light. The light at the top of the tower is not a harsh, interrogating spotlight, seeking to expose the flaws of the ships at sea. It is a steady, reliable, sweeping beam. It does not judge what it illuminates. It shines with equal impartiality on the magnificent cruise liner and the small, struggling fishing boat. It simply reveals what is there. This light is your consciousness, your pure, non-judgmental awareness, and its function is not to interfere, but simply to illuminate. Herein lies the profound difference between two models of helping, two models of influence. There is the model of the lifeboat, and there is the model of the lighthouse. The lifeboat represents the ego's way of helping. It sees a ship in distress, and it springs into action, fueled by a sense of drama and a need to be a hero. It motors frantically out into the stormy seas, its crew shouting instructions, trying to pull people from the water, trying to fix the other vessel's problems. This can be a noble act, but it is also chaotic, exhausting, and fraught with danger. The lifeboat can easily get swamped by the same waves. Its crew can become entangled in the other's panic, and it can only help one or two ships at a time. This is the path of the rescuer, the fixer, the codependent, the path of forced action. The lighthouse, however, operates from an entirely different principle. It does not move, it does not shout, it does not rush out to sea. It performs only one simple, powerful function. It stays anchored to its rock, and it shines. It does not worry about the ships. It does not try to steer them. It does not take responsibility for their navigation or their destination. It simply offers a single, reliable point of reference in the darkness. It trusts the captain of each ship to use that light to find their own way. By doing less, it accomplishes far more. Its silent, steady presence can guide dozens of ships to safety in a single night. This is the influence of being. This is the power of a person who has dedicated themselves to their inner work. You become this lighthouse for others, not by trying to teach them, fix them, or save them, but simply by doing your own work of staying present. You will walk into a room where the energetic atmosphere is thick with anxiety and unspoken conflict. You will say nothing. You will do nothing. You will simply anchor yourself in your body, feel your breath, and hold your inner space of peace. And you will notice a subtle shift in the room. Your non-anxious presence is a silent permission slip for others to relax. Your coherent frequency begins to bring a quiet order to the chaos around you. A friend will come to you in a state of frantic despair, their mind a raging storm of confusion. The old you, the lifeboat, would have immediately jumped into the storm with them, offering frantic advice, sharing your own stories, trying to patch their problems. The new you, the lighthouse, will simply sit with them. You will offer them the clean, still, silent space of your listening presence. You will become the still lake that perfectly reflects their own sky. And in the safety and clarity of your presence, they will hear their own wisdom whispering beneath the noise of their panic. They will find their own solution. And they will thank you for your profound help, and you will know that all you did was shine. You become a no-drama zone. The egoic patterns of others, which thrive on getting a reaction, find no purchase in you. Blame, gossip, and victimhood are waves that crash against your solid foundation and simply dissipate. There is no reactive energy in you for them to hook into, nothing for their fire to consume. Often, without a single word being spoken, their dramas will quiet in your presence, because the ego knows it cannot play its games in the clear light of awareness. This is the most liberating realization. Your sole responsibility is to tend to your own light. You are not responsible for another person's happiness. You are not responsible for their choices. You are not responsible for their journey. You are not even responsible for whether or not they see your light. Some ships are so lost in the fog of their own minds that they will sail right past you, and that is their karmic path. Your job is not to chase them. Your job is to stay on your rock, to stay connected to your foundation of being, and to keep your own lamp clean and bright. Tending your light is your gift to the world. It is the most important and impactful thing you can do. It is a noble and peaceful calling to be a lighthouse. But it does not mean your own seas will always be calm or your own skies will always be clear. Lighthouses, after all, were not built for sunny afternoons. They prove their worth. They reveal their true strength in the darkest nights, in the most ferocious storms. And the ultimate test of your presence is not when you are holding space for another's chaos, but when the hurricane is tearing through your own life. What happens when it is your heart that is broken, when it is your body that is sick, when it is your life that seems to be falling apart at the seams? How does the lighthouse keep its own light from being extinguished when its very foundation is being battered by the winds of personal crisis? This is where our practice meets its greatest test and discovers its deepest, most unshakable power. To be a lighthouse is a beautiful and noble way of being, but lighthouses are not built on the shores of placid lakes. They are erected on the rugged, storm-battered coastlines of the world. They are not designed for sunny afternoons. They are built to withstand the full fury of the hurricane. And so it is with your own presence. The true measure of your inner work is not found in moments of peaceful meditation, but in the crucible of crisis, in the heart of the storms that life will inevitably bring, for they will come. The winds of loss, the waves of grief, the dark clouds of illness and failure, these are all part of the human journey. Your practice is not meant to prevent the storms. It is meant to allow you to be the lighthouse in the storm. Let us be perfectly clear. Awakening does not make you numb. Presence is not an anesthetic. It does not mean you will not feel a deep, gut-wrenching ache when you lose someone you love, or a surge of fear when you receive a frightening diagnosis. The path of consciousness is not an escape from the raw experience of being human. It is a full, courageous, and unconditional immersion into it. The pain will be real. The goal is not to avoid this pain, but to change your relationship to it so that it does not destroy you. It is to learn that while pain may be inevitable, suffering is optional. This is the great secret. There are two layers to any painful experience. The first is the primary, clean pain of the event itself. This is the direct, unavoidable, energetic reality of the situation. It is the first arrow, as the Buddha called it. It strikes and it hurts. There is no escaping it. But then, almost instantaneously, we inflict a second arrow upon ourselves. This second arrow is our mental and emotional reaction to the primary pain. It is our resistance to it. It is the story our mind weaves around it. This shouldn't be happening. Why me? It's not fair. I can't handle this. My life is over. This layer of mental narrative, of resistance and fear, is what turns clean pain into prolonged suffering. The first arrow is life's wound. The second arrow is the one we drive into ourselves. Your practice gives you the profound freedom to not pick up the second arrow. So, how do you do this when the storm hits? How do you find peace in the midst of chaos? You learn to find the eye of the hurricane. A hurricane is a vortex of terrifying, destructive power on its outer bands. But at its absolute center, there is a place of uncanny, profound calm. The sky is clear, the winds are still. This eye is not a place of escape. It is the very heart of the storm, the axle around which all the chaos revolves. Within every crisis in your life, no matter how terrible, there exists an inner equivalent of this eye. It is your silent, aware presence, and you can learn to go there. The first step is the most courageous one you will ever take. You must stop fighting the storm. You must surrender to the undeniable reality of what is happening. This is the ultimate practice of the art of allowing, If grief is the storm, you must stop telling yourself you shouldn't be feeling it. You must let the torrential rains of your tears fall. You must say yes to the reality of the storm's presence. Yes, this loss has happened. Yes, my heart is broken. Yes, this is here now. This radical acceptance does not mean you like the situation, but it stops the exhausting, futile war against reality. It is the act of not firing the second arrow. You are immediately cutting off the fuel supply for suffering. With that surrender as your foundation, you then gently disengage from the howling winds of the mind story. Notice the thoughts of "why me?" and "it's not fair." See them for what they are, the chaotic outer bands of the storm. They are just thoughts, just energy patterns. You do not have to believe them. You do not have to get swept up in their narrative. Let them howl. Let them rage. Your task is not to silence the wind, but to find your way to the calm center. And you do this by diving from the mind into the body. In moments of extreme crisis, your thinking mind is the most dangerous place to be. Your anchor is, and always will be, the raw, physical sensations in your body. So, you dive. You bring your full, compassionate attention to the physical epicenter of the pain. Where do you feel this grief, this fear, this despair as a pure sensation? Is it a crushing weight on your chest, a hollow, aching void in your stomach, a searing tightness in your throat? Go there. Be with that sensation fully. Breathe into it as we have practiced. Do not label it. Do not tell its story. Just feel its raw, vibrating energy. This is the eye of the storm. In the core of pure physical sensation, there is no past or future. There is no why. There is only the intense, undeniable aliveness of this present moment. And if you stay with it, if you have the courage to hold this intense energy in your loving, non-judgmental awareness, you will discover something miraculous. At the very center of the most intense sensation, there is a stillness. There is a part of you that is simply watching. There is you, the sky, holding the weather. There is you, the deep ocean, undisturbed by the tempest on the surface. You are the stillness that contains the pain. The pain is happening within you, but it is not you. In finding this, you find your unshakable peace, not in the absence of the storm, but at its very heart. The world will tell you that to be strong in a crisis is to be like a rockto, be stoic, unbending, to not show emotion. But a rock, under enough pressure, shatters into 1,000 pieces. This is a false and brittle strength. True spiritual strength is like that of water. Water is soft. It yields. It allows the obstacle to be. It flows around it. It is adaptable. Yet it is the most powerful and relentless force on earth. Your strength in the storm is your capacity to be like water, to yield to your pain, to allow it to move through you without resisting it. This soft, yielding, present vulnerability is the most powerful strength you will ever possess. The hurricane is the ultimate training ground. It is the fire that tempers the steel of your presence. And when you have learned to find the eye of the storm in your darkest moments, the smaller squalls and gusts of daily life lose their power to capsize you. The critical comment from a colleague, the frustration of a traffic jam, the annoyance of a plan gone awry, these are just minor gusts of wind. You now know from direct experience that you do not have to be tossed about by them. You have discovered that between the stimulus, the gust of wind, and your response, there is a space. This space is the eye of the storm, now accessible in every moment. And in this sacred space lies your ultimate freedom, the freedom to choose your response, or to choose not to respond at all. This is the profound power of non-reaction. You have learned to be the lighthouse in another's storm, and more profoundly, you have learned to find the eye of the hurricane within your own. You have touched a place of deep, unshakable peace that exists not in the absence of chaos, but at its very heart. This ability to remain present with intense difficulty is the ultimate training ground for a life of freedom. For having practiced this in the crucible of great suffering, you can now apply this same profound skill to the smaller, daily squalls of life, to the sting of criticism, the frustration of a plan gone wrong, the annoyance of a thoughtless comment. You are ready to learn that between any event in the world and your experience of it, there lies a sacred space, and within that space is your ultimate power, the freedom of non-reaction. To understand this freedom, you must first understand the nature of your prison. For most of your life, you have lived as a puppet, and you have not even known it. The strings are the events and people of the world. A person criticizes you, our string is pulled, and you dance the pre-programmed dance of defensiveness. A driver cuts you off in traffic, a string is pulled, and you perform the familiar dance of rage. You receive unexpected bad news, a string is pulled, and you collapse into the dance of anxiety. We believe we are choosing our actions, but in truth, we are merely reacting. Our inner state of peace is held hostage, entirely dependent on the world outside of us behaving exactly as we wish. This is a life of bondage. This reactive mechanism is a deeply ingrained survival instinct. A trigger in the environment bypasses our rational mind and activates the ancient emotional part of our brain. It is an evolutionary feature designed to help us survive an attack from a predator. In the modern world, however, this amygdala hijack is triggered not by tigers, but by emails, by differing opinions, by a strange look from a loved one. The result is a life lived in a state of low-grade, chronic fight or flight. You feel the constant tension, the narrowing of perception, the hot rush of righteousness or fear, often followed by the crash of regret. Why did I say that? Why did I let that bother me? We are slaves to the stimulus, but there is a way to cut the strings. There is a way to step off the stage and become the master of your own being. The secret lies in the discovery of the space. Between the stimulus and your response, there is a space. For most people, this space is infinitesimally small, lasting only a microsecond before the unconscious reaction takes over. The entire spiritual journey we have been on together has been about one thing: learning to find, to enter, and to live in this space. This space is not a new concept to you. It has been the destination of all our explorations. It is the still point we discovered beneath the noisy mind. It is the quiet riverbank from which we watch our thoughts float by. It is the vast, open sky that holds the weather of our emotions without being harmed by it. It is the silent, calm eye of the storm that exists at the heart of every crisis. These were not different lessons. They were different doorways leading into the same sacred room. The room is the silent, aware space of your own presence, and in this room lies all your power, all your growth, and all your freedom. The practice, then, is to consciously widen this gap, to inhabit this space in the heat of the moment. The first and most powerful tool is the holy pause. When a trigger occurs, an email lands, a comment is made, a plan goes awry, your first act of liberation is to do nothing, to simply pause for 1 second. In that single conscious pause, you have broken the circuit of unconscious reactivity. You have cut the puppet strings. You are no longer a reactor, you are an observer. In that pause, you bring in your anchor, the breath. Take one conscious breath, feel the air enter your body, and feel it leave. This one breath is a powerful circuit breaker, pulling your awareness out of the time-traveling, story-making mind and anchoring you firmly in the present moment. With that anchor set, you dive into the body. You feel the rising energy of the potential reaction, the heat of anger in your chest, the flutter of anxiety in your stomach's pure, raw sensation. You do not judge it. You do not try to suppress it. You just feel its energetic signature without believing the story the mind is trying to attach to it. And then, a miracle happens. From this place of paused, grounded, embodied presence, a choice emerges. Before, there was no choice, only the mechanical reaction. Now, the space has given you the gift of choice. You see the stimulus clearly. You feel the rising emotional energy clearly. And you, the conscious observer, can now choose your response. Someone insults you. The old reactive pattern was to insult them back, to defend your honor, to engage in a draining battle of egos. But now, from this quiet space, other options appear. You can see the pain behind their insult and respond with a compassion that disarms them. You can set a firm, calm boundary without aggression, or you can choose the most powerful response of all, to say nothing, to do nothing, to simply let their energy pass by you without hooking you, preserving your own inner peace. You realize their words are about them, and you are free to not make them about you. This is the ultimate power. True power is not the ability to control the world, to win every argument, or to manipulate others. That is the ego's brittle, exhausting imitation of power. True, unshakable power is the ability to master your own inner state, regardless of external conditions. It is to be the lighthouse, whose light is not extinguished by the storm. It is to be the deep ocean, whose stillness is not disturbed by the turmoil on the surface. When you refuse to react, you refuse to play the ego's game. Most human conflict is simply a closed loop of two egos reacting to each other's reactions. By choosing non-reaction, you break the circuit. You do not provide the energy the other person's ego is craving. Often, with nothing to push against, their own reactive energy will simply dissipate. You become a powerful force for peace in the world, not by preaching peace, but by embodying it. You conserve your own life force, refusing to waste it on pointless, draining battles. You reserve your energy for inspired action, for love, for creation. Your inner kingdom is finally yours. Your peace is no longer for sale, no longer dependent on the behavior of anyone or anything outside of you. This is true spiritual sovereignty. As you practice this, as you learn to live in this sacred space of non-reaction more and more consistently, a final, profound shift in your identity begins to occur. You stop identifying with the puppet, with the fleeting thoughts, the transient emotions, and the conditioned reactions. These are just events that happen in your awareness. They are not who you are. You begin to identify more and more with the space itself, with the silent, peaceful, ever-present consciousness that witnesses it all. The question then naturally arises, what or who is this silent, aware presence? Is it my presence, or is it something vaster, something universal? As the sense of a small, separate, reactive self begins to dissolve into the background, you stand on the precipice of the final realization of this journey. The understanding that the consciousness that looks out through your eyes is the same consciousness that looks out through everyone's eyes. The presence within you is not your personal presence. It is the presence of the universe itself, experiencing itself through you. This is the journey into oneness. You have journeyed far. You have learned to find the still point within, to witness your thoughts from the riverbank, to be the sky for your emotional weather. You have learned to drop the anchor of your body into the present moment, to listen with a silent, spacious heart, and to release the frantic need to control the river of life. You have found the eye of the storm, and, in the sacred pause of non-reaction, you have reclaimed your freedom. As you rest in this quiet, powerful space, disidentified from the fleeting drama of the conditioned self, a final question arises, not from the noisy mind, but from the profound silence of your own soul. If I am not the thoughts, not the emotions, not the body, not the reactive character I thought I was, then what am I? The answer to this question is not a concept to be understood, but a reality to be experienced. It is the final destination of our journey, which is the realization that there is no destination, for you are already home. For your entire life, you have lived within the grip of the primary and most fundamental illusion, the belief that you are a separate self. You have experienced yourself as a lonely island of consciousness, a me inside this body, looking out at a world that is not me. This perceived separation is the root cause of all human fear, conflict, and suffering. It is the belief that you are a fragment, cut off from the whole, that gives rise to the ache of loneliness, the fear of annihilation, and the endless, hungry search for connection and validation from the outside. But this feeling of separation, as real as it seems, is a trick of perception. It is the final veil that is now ready to be lifted. Let us inquire gently. The awareness with which you are hearing these words right now, is it different from the awareness with which you feel the sensation of the air on your skin? Is it different from the awareness with which you see the light in your room? Is it not a single, seamless field of knowing in which all these experiences, the sounds, the sensations, the sights appear and disappear? You have been taught to believe that this awareness is yours, a personal attribute generated by your brain. But what if it is not personal at all? What if it is universal, a single, divine light of consciousness, and your body and mind are simply a localized point through which this one light is looking? The thought, "I am aware," is a product of the personal mind. The actual state of awareness itself is boundless, timeless, and impersonal. There is just awareness, and you are that. The ancient mystics have used a beautiful metaphor to point to this truth, the metaphor of the ocean and the wave. Imagine a single wave rising from the sea. For the duration of its existence, the wave has a unique identity. It has a birth, a form, a journey, and an eventual end as it crashes upon the shore. From its limited perspective, it believes itself to be a separate entity. It might look at other waves and feel pride. "I am taller than that one." Or envy. "I wish I were as powerful as that one." It might fear its own dissolution, the inevitable moment when it will cease to be a wave. This is the life of the human ego, the separate self, defined by its form, lost in comparison, and terrified of its own death. But then, at the peak of its expression, the wave has a moment of enlightenment. It realizes that its very substance, the water that makes it a wave, is the exact same substance as the entire, boundless ocean. It realizes it was never separate from the ocean. It is the ocean, expressing itself as a wave for a brief, beautiful moment. Its true nature is not waveness, which is temporary, but waterness, which is eternal. The realization does not destroy the wave, it liberates it. It can now dance its wave-like dance with utter joy and freedom, for it knows that its form is temporary, but its essence is indestructible. It knows that its death is not an end, but a joyful returning to the vastness of its own true self. You are the wave who is beginning to remember that you are the ocean, the unique personality, the body, the life story that is your beautiful, temporary, and precious form as a wave. But your true identity, your deepest nature, is the one consciousness, the one presence that is the substance of all of creation. It is the same one presence that is looking out through the eyes of every person you meet, that is dreaming in the heart of every animal, that is the silent, living stillness within every tree and every stone. To experience this directly is to know oneness. It is not an intellectual concept, it is a felt reality. It is to look at a flower and to have the sense of a separate you looking at a separate flower dissolve. For a moment, there is no looker and no looked at. There is only looking. There is only a single unified field of being, expressing itself as both you and the flower. In these moments, loneliness becomes a conceptual impossibility, for there is no other to be separate from. The fear of death loses its grip, for you realize that the form may change, but the consciousness that you are was never born, and can never die. This realization is the birth of true, unconditional compassion. When you look into the eyes of another person, even someone you find difficult, you no longer see an other. You see the one consciousness, the one self, looking back at you, playing a different role, wearing a different costume in the grand play of life. Their pain becomes your pain. Their joy becomes your joy. The impulse to harm another becomes an absurdity, for it would be like your left hand trying to harm your right. The impulse to love, to serve, to heal becomes as natural and as effortless as breathing, for it is simply the whole, taking care of itself. This is the end of the search. You have been a wave, traveling across the vast ocean, searching for a drop of water. You have been looking for the peace, the love, the wholeness outside of yourself, never realizing that you were and are the very thing you were seeking. This realization is not an end, but a beginning. It is the beginning of a life lived from a place of profound peace, love, and unity. You do not need to struggle to hold on to this state. You cannot lose what you are. It is simply a truth to be remembered, a reality to be rested in, more and more deeply. It is not an escape from the world, but the ultimate way of being fully, joyfully, and fearlessly in it, as it. You are the dancer and the dance. You are the weaver and the tapestry. You are the wave and you are the ocean. Let us now gather the wisdom of this mountaintop view and prepare to walk back down into the valley of our daily lives, carrying this silent, radiant light within us as we bring our journey to a gentle close. And so, we return. From the vast, boundless ocean of being, we gently find our way back to the beautiful, particular shore of this present moment. We bring our awareness back to this body, this breath, this life. The journey we have taken together through these words has not been about learning a new set of skills, but about remembering a timeless truth. We began seeking to change our influence on the world, believing it was something we had to do, a signal we had to carefully craft and transmit. We sought to become a more powerful broadcaster, but the journey led us to a much deeper realization. We learned that the frantic, noisy station of the ego was the source of all our static. And so, we learned to find the still point, to become the silent, unattached observer, to be the vast sky for our own inner weather. We found our anchor in the body, our peace in the art of allowing, our power in the quiet dance of inspired action. We saw that our true purpose was not a destination to be reached, but a presence to be embodied in each simple, sacred moment. The final and most profound realization is this: you have gone from being a frantic broadcaster, desperately trying to send the right signal, to becoming the silent, spacious stillness through which all signals travel. You are no longer trying to send a message, you are the message. Your very being, in its natural state of peace, is a constant, silent, and powerful transmission that heals and harmonizes the world around you more than any action ever could. As you move from this space of listening back into the world of doing, carry this simple truth with you as a touchstone. Let it be a gentle mantra that you can repeat silently to yourself in moments of chaos, in moments of forgetting. Let the words echo in the quiet chambers of your heart. My presence is my power. My being is my influence. There is nothing more you need to do. There is nothing more you need to become. You have only to remember the magnificent, peaceful, and powerful being that you already are. Your work is not to strive for this state, but to rest in it more and more deeply. Your task is not to achieve enlightenment, but to allow the light that you are to shine through the clouds of the conditioned mind. The journey of listening to this voice is now over. The real journey, the beautiful journey of listening to the silence within, now truly begins. Be still and know